What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the live. We are live to the live, your winning offer, accelerated intensive. Super jazzed for today. I've been really looking forward to this. We've got a jam-packed training in store for you. When I said leading up to this accelerated intensive that we are going to go at lightning pace, that it's going to be jam-packed, I was not kidding. And so I hope you ate your morning breakfast, a hearty breakfast, and you are thoroughly prepared. Before we officially get rocking and rolling, and I bring up the slide deck and give you the agenda and tell you exactly what it is that we're going to cover today, please, can somebody go ahead and just let me know that you can hear me a-okay, that you can see me a-okay, that everything is coming through loud and clear. I want to make sure that I'm not talking to myself here. And so if somebody in the chat can just go ahead and let me know you guys can hear me, you can see me, that would be amazing. And so let me see here. So, okay, hang on one second. Yep, all good. Okay, perfect. Okay, I hear you. Sounds good. Perfect. Okay, awesome. Wonderful. I can see you loud and clear. Chat is disabled. How is the chat disabled? Let me see. Chat is disabled. That is bizarre. My gosh, what a bummer. Well, fortunately, we've got this area for live questions and all that jazz. And so very cool. I wonder why it was set up that way. Hang on, let me see if I can fix that. No, I don't even want to play with it because I'm afraid of what I will break. Nevertheless, all right. So I appreciate it's an easy fix. You can change it. How do I change it, Nick? Does somebody know how to enable the chat? Right in the bottom corner. So it says more. No, I'm not seeing that. Chat. Let's see. Oh, chat. Oh, there you go. Somebody tell me if I fixed it. Thanks to. There we go. Okay, wonderful. Teddy, our CTO, is going to hear about this, boy. And so there you go. Okay, perfect. Okay. So thank goodness. I can't believe I actually fixed something tech related. This is unbelievable. Anyway, look, let's get to it because we've got a tremendous amount to cover. And so I'm glad that you guys can hear me. You can see me. The chat is working. We are good to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the slide deck and we're going to get rocking and rolling. This is one of the most organized and really, I should say, like dialed trainings that I think that I've ever put together. And so you're going to know exactly where we are at any given point. So let me do this. Let me share my screen over here. Let me pull up the slide deck and tell you exactly what it is that we are going to do. And so if somebody can just go ahead and let me know that you can see my slide deck. You guys cool? You see the slide deck on the screen? Yes. Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So very cool. So I already said welcome to everybody. Let me say this, right? And I'm going to get to it, right? I'm going to cut out the fluff because we're really packing almost a 2-day training into this accelerated intensive. And I've got so much stuff that not only I want to cover with you, that I need to cover with you. I believe that this is by far, and you're going to understand why by the time we are done, the single most valuable thing, the single most valuable piece of content that you can master and learn right now. This is the most valuable thing right now that I can share with you. I say right now because of a lot of factors that we're gonna cover, because of things like market saturation in many markets and many niches, because of the vast amount of new marketing funnels that are being created, the amount of garbage copy that's coming out now from tons of brand new marketers because it's so brain dead easy to publish pages. Fact of the matter is that what it is that we're going to cover today, what it is that I'm going to teach you, what it is that you're going to walk away with today alone, forget even the live creation session that you're about to experience next week, where your winning offer is created, engineered. Forget what it is that you are going to walk away with today is going to give you a monster competitive advantage. And so listen to me. I would highly encourage you, please, this is for you. There's obviously no offer coming at the end of this. There's nothing being pitched. This is pure content for you. I would highly encourage you to close everything else that you may have open. Don't multitask and try to do email while you are listening to me, right? Trust me when I tell you that this thing is so jam-packed that if you blink, you risk missing out on something wildly valuable. And this is too important to you and your business right now to miss even a single gem. There are so many gems throughout this training that I'm going to cover for you today that even if you don't use the entire, YWO process, there are gems that in and of themselves can absolutely change the game for you. I know that is almost cliche at this point, this idea of game changing. I absolutely mean it when I say it. And so I want you to play full out with me for the next 4 hours. We may go a little bit over. I'm going to try to keep it to 4 hours as best as I can, but I'm going to cover everything and I'm not leaving anything out for you because this is too important. So please play full out. Now to start with, and I'm going to give you a few seconds to do this, I put together a multi-page PDF for you that is kind of a key takeaways guide. You could say it's a Q&A, like it's to force you to really pay attention and make sure that you get the gems. You can download it right now. It's PDF. It's a few pages. You can see it says toddbrown.me/YWO-AI-guide. AI stands for accelerated intensive, not artificial intelligence. And so if somebody can pop that in the chat for everybody else, that would be awesome. You want to go ahead and you want to download that now. And I would highly encourage you to fill that in, whether it be on an iPad, on your computer, print it out if you still have one of those devices, but fill it in as we go. Also, what you're going to notice in just a little bit as I go through the agenda for today, everything was set up and in terms of the timing at which you get resources strategically. So you're going to see in a little bit at the end of our training, I'm going to give you a download link for all of my slides, as well as the full construction bundle, like a ton of stuff. That was done intentionally because today on this 4-hour accelerated intensive, what I want you to do is I want you to pay attention to me and what I show you on the screen, me and the slides. So don't download that key takeaway guide and skip ahead and think you know stuff or think you've got it nailed already. Trust me when I tell you, you don't, right? You don't know everything that I'm going to share with you. And so I want you to pay close attention. It is in your best interest. Now, with that being said, let's quickly cover the agenda for today. It's kind of straightforward and simple, and just a couple of housekeeping items. So number one, we are going to go from 12 to 4 today. Might go, like I said, a little bit over, but I'm going to do my best to get you guys and gals out of here at 4. We are going to take 2 8-minute bathroom breaks throughout, and that's it. 2 8-minute bathroom breaks, and that is all. That's it. So we're not going to take a long 30-minute break, just 2 bathroom breaks. I don't know when those are going to be yet. I'm going to try to do them every 90 minutes or 90 minutes and then another 90 minutes. And so keep that in mind. I'm going to leave about 30 minutes in the end to the best of my ability for Q&A. Now, if you have a question as I am going through this material, save it because there's a good chance that I'm going to answer it before we are done. So a question that pops up in your mind on one slide might be answered on the next slide or the 5th slide after. And so have a little notes document open and just jot down your questions. And then in the end, when we circle back for Q&A, you might find that most of those questions, a number of those questions have been answered. At the end of our training, I'm going to explain to you how to best prep for your live YWO creation session. This is for you to get ready and for you to be able to help us make that creation session not only wildly effective, but wildly efficient for both you and the top marketers on my team. I already mentioned at the end, I'm going to give you download links for all of these slides as well as the construction bundle. Later this evening, I'm going to send out a recording, a raw recording of this entire session. I say raw because it's going to be unedited. It's going to be right from Zoom. So you're going to get a Zoom link with a password. My team, of course, is going to go and take the video and clean it up and edit out the parts where we pause for a bathroom break, probably even slice it and dice it into different videos based on the different sections that we're going to cover here. But for tonight, right, for tonight, you're going to get a copy of the raw, unedited recording. Now, the last thing is when you have an aha, a discovery, something that you're like, didn't even think of that, didn't know that, wow, that is totally insightful, post in the chat a comment and have it begin with OMG exclamation and then followed by your insight. What I'm going to do after is have my team go through the chat transcript or whatever you call it and take all of those OMG comments and put them into a separate document for you. And then I will send that out separately. So this is kind of a way to make it easy on my team to find those key takeaways. And plus I like seeing OMG exclamation mark in comments. And so with that, let's get rocking and rolling. And you're welcome, Leslie. Let's get rocking and rolling. And I want to just lay some foundations for you. And I would ask that you would indulge me for just a little bit as I go over the foundation of what it is that we're going to talk about today and why this is so critical and why this is so valuable, even if you think you know it. Now, you've heard, and it's been long known, that the priority order of impact when it comes to marketing, when it comes to producing sales, when it comes to conversions in the world of direct response is list first. In other words, the priority in conversions is the audience, is making sure that you're talking to the right people. The reality is, no matter how much else you know about marketing, no matter what your skill sets are in every other area of marketing, from whether it be copy and headline creation, big idea creation, unique mechanism, campaign arguments, offer creation for that matter, whiz-bang copy, sales techniques, no matter what your skill sets are, if you're talking to the wrong people or a poorly targeted list, your conversion rate is going to suffer, right? You could have the best product on, like I've said this for a long time, on mixed martial arts, right? And if you're talking to elderly grandmothers and grandfathers, there is a strong likelihood that you're not going to sell a whole lot of them, no matter how great your offer is, no matter how great your copy is, no matter how great your marketing is, no matter what tech you're using, no matter if you're using the latest whiz-bang strategy or tactic out there. And so the priority is first and foremost audience. But after audience is the offer. And after the offer comes the copy. Now, a lot of you may have heard this already. You may know this, right? This is a long established kind of principle, rule in the world of direct response. But here is the reality. The reality is that this is not the way the overwhelming majority of marketers and entrepreneurs online operate when it comes to campaign creation. Right? The majority of marketers and entrepreneurs online, when it comes to their funnels and their campaigns, they're pouring a tremendous amount of time and effort into the marketing and copy side. They're dialing in or trying to dial in every single word of their copy, their VSL script, their long form sales letter. They're working tirelessly to dial in every sentence and every paragraph, right? And then they're hemming and hawing over, should I go with this kind of funnel or this kind of funnel? Should I use this model? Should I use a VSL? Should I use a webinar? Should it be an evergreen webinar? Should it be a live webinar? Should I do this? Should I have 6 steps in my campaign or should I have 5 steps in my campaign? Thinking that the magic is really in the marketing and the copy side. But the reality is that the offer is a much bigger needle mover in direct response marketing than is the copy. Yet the overwhelming majority of entrepreneurs and marketers, maybe some of you on here, pour your heart and soul into the copy and marketing side and almost treat the offer like a secondary thought. I would say that there are, I would say the large majority of online entrepreneurs, they probably spend less than 60 minutes thinking about and putting together their offer. Many people, right, even on here, likely spend less than 30 minutes contemplating, thinking about, and engineering their offer, not realizing that the offer is a bigger needle mover when it comes to conversions than is copy, right? Now, the other thing that I want you to really understand, that I really want you to grasp here, and this is critical, and this is what I would say is when I said earlier that there's nothing more valuable that you can learn today, right, today, than what it is that we're talking about here. And, you know, it's largely, there's a lot of factors that are contributing to that, but largely driven by this, that most entrepreneurs, most marketers are trying to compete on better copy and better marketing. They're trying to compete. They're trying to compete for sales, for customers, for buyers, for lifetime value growth. They're trying to compete by having better copy and better marketing. And here is the thing that I want you to understand. It kills me to say this. It pains me to say this, but you need to hear it because it's the truth. The reality is that trying to compete on better marketing is brutally difficult. It's the most difficult approach to competing in a crowded market. It is the most difficult approach because, you know, look, writing copy, coming up with great big marketing ideas are not easy. These are not easy steps. These are not easy tasks. They can oftentimes be tedious. They require a lot of research, a lot of examination. They require a strong finger on the pulse of your market. They're difficult to execute, even for people that have been around the game for a significant length of time, right? The reality is, as you're going to learn today, is that you ideally do not want to try to compete on better copy and better marketing, especially in crowded markets, especially in competitive markets, especially in saturated markets. Like, look, the reality is that, right, there are some great marketers out there, and the last thing that you want to do is try to go head to head with them on a difficult skill set to execute. The beauty is that with a great offer, with a winning offer, you can get away with average copy and an average marketing campaign, right? The reality is that you can get away with average copy and an average marketing campaign when you've got a stellar offer, an offer that I'm going to teach you how to put together today, an offer like we're going to describe, look at, dissect, and lay out for you today. You can get away with average copy and an average campaign, but man, when you've got an average offer, even great copy and great marketing will not make up for that, right? A weak offer, a run-of-the-mill offer is very difficult to make work, even with great copy and great marketing. And so you don't want to try to compete with better marketing. You want to compete with a better offer. This is not to say that you don't want the best marketing and the best copy possible. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying you do want good copy. You do want a properly structured and strategically engineered marketing campaign, but you really want that, right, to communicate. You want to use those things to communicate a winning offer. When you do, when you combine a winning offer with even good copy, like, you know, average copy, and a good marketing strategy, man, sky's the limit for you. You will dominate. What you see from the majority of marketers in the online marketing space are run-of-the-mill offers that are trying to be propped up with hyperbolic, exaggerated copy and claims and just ridiculous promises. That's not how you want to compete. And so, number one, what you have to understand is that better offers, or a better offer, a winning offer, makes marketing and selling easy. Makes marketing and selling easy. Here's an example that I've used for years, and I want you to think about this for 1 second, okay? I want you to imagine that I ask you guys collectively as a group, I ask you to help me sell these two vehicles. So on the left, we've got a beat up, rusted out, old VW truck, right? Let's say it's got an AM FM radio. The interior is all torn up. It's banged up. I'm not even sure if this thing starts. On the right, we've got a gorgeous, brand new, call it gunmetal, matte black, Aston Martin, call it a $350,000 vehicle-ish, give or take, right? And now I ask you, I say for you guys, I want you to sell each of these vehicles for me for $45,000 a pop. So that banged up VW, right? And on the right, a brand new Aston Martin. And I want you to sell each for $45,000. Well, let me be crystal clear if you don't see it already. To sell that banged up VW truck to for $45,000, you better have some serious marketing chops. You better have some serious copy chops. You better have some serious sales chops to sell that vehicle for $45,000. Assuming that let's just assume that that's not anything that is in high demand as a classic vehicle. I have no idea. I'm not into vehicles. And so, right, just assuming that it's a run-of-the-mill, banged up, beat up VW truck, you got to have some mad chops to sell that vehicle. But let me ask you something. Do you need to have incredible marketing skills, copy chops, sales skills to sell a $300,000+ Aston Martin for $45,000? The answer is absolutely not. Your biggest obstacle would be convincing people it's not stolen, right? That it's legit. Right. And so you don't need massive marketing chops, incredible copy skills, or incredible sales skills when you have that kind of offer. Now, that is an extreme example. Yes. And that is based purely on discount, right? Or, the value exchange here. But the thing that I want you to understand, nonetheless, is that when you've got a great offer, you don't need extensive copy skills or marketing chops. Why? Because the offer is so good that it does the heavy lifting. See, when the offer is run of the mill, when the offer is average, when the offer is subpar, when the offer isn't irresistible, as most people like to talk about, well, then you got to prop it up with great copy. You got to prop it up with great marketing. You got to prop it up with extensive follow-up. You got to prop it up with so many tactics and strategies and all that. But when you have a great offer, the reality is a stellar offer. Let me kind of just jump ahead for 1 second and say this. That a stellar offer, the reality is that you don't need a big marketing idea. You often don't even need a unique mechanism. I'm not saying that you wouldn't want to use a unique mechanism, but a great offer, you can run ads for the offer, right? And you could bring people to a very extremely direct campaign that is about the offer, and you will sell like crazy when you have a great offer, a winning offer. When you don't, then we need a lot of these tactics, a lot of these whiz bang techniques to prop it up, to get attention, to try to build value, to try to, create this wizardry. And so, right, great offers, better offers make marketing and selling so much easier. Better offers, as I already said, a better offer will always beat better marketing. A better offer will always beat better copy, right? Don't believe me? Here is Gary Halbert, arguably one of the most respected legends in the world of direct response. This was a guy who was a copy guy, one of the greats, no longer with us, unfortunately, but one of the greats, a guy who talked most extensively about copy, a guy who was an unbelievable copywriter. And he said, strong copy will not overcome a weak offer, but a strong offer will succeed in spite of weak copy written by marketing morons. Right? A strong offer will succeed in spite of weak copy written by a marketing moron. There's no marketing morons on here. So we're not even talking about starting out this low. The point is that a great offer will compensate for weak copy or an average copy and an average marketing campaign, but great marketing campaigns and great copy will rarely compensate for a subpar average offer. The reality is that today, in most competitive markets, In most competitive markets where there are, like super competitive markets. And when I say super competitive, I mean from a direct response perspective, there are a lot of funnels, there are a lot of campaigns, there are a lot of advertisers. There's just a lot of offers, being put out there. The reality is that a winning offer will allow you to dominate in those kind of markets, will allow you to dominate. The likelihood in these super crowded, super saturated markets, the likelihood of you dominating based on better copy or better marketing is slim to none. You don't want to fight that battle. You want to change your frame and recognize the power of a better offer, the power of a winning offer, the power of constructing a stellar offer for your marketplace. And that's why I say that today, especially, creating better offers is the supreme skill, right? It is the most valuable skill in all of marketing today. I really believe that it's always been, right? But it's more important, more critical today than ever before. And this is why I say, and this is the first kind of mindset shift, or really the only mindset shift in the foundations section that I just want to give you, is that what I want you to begin thinking like, or thinking as, right, is instead of first thinking of yourself as a marketer, like instead of thinking like I'm a marketer, I do marketing, I want you to, above and before all else, I want you to view yourself and act like and conduct yourself like you are first and foremost an offer creator. You are an offer creator. And so you're going to see in just a little bit, and this is an important distinction that I want you to grasp, that before anything else, before you think about a big marketing idea, before you write a headline, before you try to come up with subheads, before you write any body copy for your campaign, before you start thinking about what type of funnel model should I use, before you start thinking about what upsells should I have, I want you to think like, act like, function like an offer creator first and foremost. And I want you to put your emphasis there using what it is that I'm going to teach you today. This is why in my old office, in the old house, for years, I had right next to my, there was a whiteboard in front of my desk, or off to the right of my desk. And on that whiteboard, a lot of things got put up on that whiteboard and a lot of things came down. But one thing that never came down, that was up there for years for me to see out of the right side of my eye every single day when I sat down at my desk, was focus on crafting killer offers. Focus on crafting killer offers. First and foremost, you will make everything else infinitely easier when you start here. And this is why, like I just said, and that's why there's a star in the upper right corner of this little slide, the offer should be engineered before you work on a single part of your marketing campaign. This is why in the E5 Acquisition Accelerator, in the E5 Masterclass, before we do any other part of the campaign, we start with the offer. We start with the offer because it's the ultimate destination of where we're bringing prospects. It's the ultimate conversion tool in every campaign, and everything else is there to support the offer. Everything else is there to ultimately bring the prospect to the offer with the right frame. So what is an offer? I know that this might seem like totally basic, but I want you to understand a couple of nuances here. So an offer in the direct response world is what the prospect gets and what they need to do to get it. Now, you'll notice that there are two parts to this: what the prospect gets and what they need to do to get it. Now, what most marketers think or believe when they hear this or hear a definition like this is, well, what the prospect gets is the product and bonuses, maybe, right? And what they need to do to get it is fill out an online form and pay X amount of money. But it really, as you're going to understand today, goes far deeper than just that. That's the superficial, what the prospect gets and what they need to do to get it. I want you to recognize that there is a layer deeper, and that deeper layer needs to be taken into consideration when we are engineering your winning offer. So there is, what does the prospect get? Prospect gets, they get the results and benefits. First and foremost, what I want you to understand is that what the prospect gets, and the thing that is ultimately most important to them, and why there's a star or an asterisk next to this, is the results and benefits, the payoff, the transformation, the change, the alleviation of pain, the accomplishment or experience of an unfulfilled desire. That's what they care about most. And so when we say, what does the prospect get? Well, first and foremost, what's most important to the prospect is the result, the outcome, the change, the transformation. So when you're thinking about what is, and let me tell you why this is so important and why I put this slide in so early, right? Is that what happens with most entrepreneurs, with most marketers, is that they put together some sort of campaign, whether it's a marketing campaign or a sales campaign or a VSL or a long form sales letter or webinar, whatever. And what happens is when they go into offer presentation mode, when they present their offer to the prospect, because they think that, okay, the offer is what the prospect gets and what they need to do to get it. And they think that what the prospect gets is the product, right? And the bonuses, and what they need to do, the prospect, in order to get that is fill out the order form and pay X amount of dollars. They end up presenting their offer in a way that lacks emotional punch, right? They're talking almost about the features of the offer in general, and they're not talking about what the prospect cares about most. So you have to recognize, listen to me, all of you, right? Nobody buys a product or service for the product or service itself. People buy products and services for the result that they believe they're going to get from it. That's what they care about. They don't care, right? They care about the result first and foremost. That's the thing. They don't care about whether it comes with one widget or 3 widgets or 5 widgets, right? What they care about is the result. And so the point is that, right, people don't buy financial newsletters because they're excited about 8 pages of text showing up in their mailbox. They invest in a financial newsletter because they want the more money in their portfolio. They want more profitable trades. They want to make more money and have more money. They want to gain financial freedom, right? And so nobody joins a gym merely because it's got cardio equipment in there. They join the gym for what they believe the cardio equipment is ultimately going to do for them, what they can experience from the cardio equipment. And that's the same thing. Nobody buys a bottle of, let's say, vitamin D because they're thrilled about having 100 tablets in some, opaque bottle in their kitchen cabinet. No, they're buying the vitamin D for what it is that they believe that vitamin D is going to do for them, right? That it's going to strengthen their bones. It's going to improve their cardiovascular system. And so you have to realize in this context, when we're talking about what does the prospect get, first and foremost, the thing that I care about most in terms of being an offer creator, in terms of being a marketer, is demonstrating the results, the benefits, the transformation, the alleviation of pain, because that's why they buy. And then, of course, there is the product, right? The bonuses, and usually the product, the service, the bonuses are linked to those results and those benefits. And I'm going to show you this and explain how we do this and explain the whole process for presenting it the right way. But the other thing that I want you to see here is that the prospect also gets reassurance, right? They get a guarantee. See, you have to understand that, right? Like, what is the value, the benefit, if you will, to the prospect with a guarantee when a guarantee is used in an offer? Well, it reduces risk, right? It demonstrates that like you can have more confidence moving forward with the purchase because you're not risking money, or you're not risking time, or you're not risking effort, right? And so you have to understand that part of what they're getting in the offer, right, is the results, the outcomes, right? More confidence, lower risk, as well as products like the bonuses and all the things that they deliver and do for them, and all the payoff. That's what the prospect gets. Now, what does the prospect need to do? What do they do in order to get this? Well, you have to realize that there's a number of things here included when we say, what do they need to do to get it? What do we mean by it, right? Well, we're not just saying, when I say it, I'm not just talking about what do they need to do to get the offer, right? What do they need to do to take advantage of the offer? Ultimately, what we're saying is, what do they need to do to get it, to get the value, the payoff, the results from the offer, right? Remember, this is a slight nuance, but I want you to get this. What do they need to do to get it? It being the value, the payoff, the results, the transformation, the things that they want from the offer. Well, of course, right? They need to pay for it, right? There are certain risks that they might take. They might have to, right? What do they need to do? They might have to risk their time. They might have to risk they're risking their money. They might have to risk potential embarrassment or humiliation if they're, if this is if they're buying something for their company, if they're a buyer, right? And they have a direct report to answer to. But what do they also need to do? Often, depending on the product that you're selling or the service that you're selling, there might be work and effort involved. You're going to see in a little bit why this is so important, especially like these last three right here. You're going to understand why this is so critical, right? What do they need to do to get it? Well, how much work or effort is involved, right? Is this something that they're going to need to invest 5 hours a day for the next 10 weeks to reap the rewards? Or is it something that they push a button and they've got the rewards? And so how much work, how much effort, how much energy, how much time, and how much discomfort do they have to endure in order to get it? These are all really important things. This slide alone and what it is that I just shared with you should already begin to shape your understanding of when we're talking about the offer. We're not just talking about payment and filling out an order form and getting some products and bonuses. We're talking about what they get in terms of the payoff, the results through the products, through the services, and the additional things like the guarantee, the reduction of risk, the increased confidence. And what do they need to do in order to get it? Of course, we know they need to pay, right? By paying, there are certain risks involved. But then what do they need to do to actually use the product, to actually reap the rewards in terms of work, effort, energy, time, and discomfort? This is really important. Now, ultimately, what we are trying to do, what we ultimately want to do here is we want to tilt the scales in terms of the value proposition in favor of what the prospect gets. In other words, right, that what the prospect gets is far more valuable than what the prospect needs to do or what the prospect does. And so we're going to demonstrate, right, that the value of what the prospect gets, including results, right, because that's where the real value is. Understand the real value. If you sell some sort of information product, coaching, consulting, or something like that, the real value is not in 20 videos, right, in Q&A calls, in in whatever else you give them. The value is in what those things do for them. So ultimately, what we're trying to demonstrate to the prospect is that what you get is far more valuable than what you need to do or give to get it. That's ultimately what we are doing. Now, I want you to understand, based on what it is that I just shared with you, that the product is not the offer. The product is not the offer. The product, what we call the deliverables, right? And we're going to talk more about that. The deliverables are not the offer, right? They're not the offer, right? The product is not the offer. The product is a part of the offer. The product is a component of the offer, but it's not the offer. It's one part of the offer. See, ultimately, I want you to get this. That what we're doing is we're selling the prospect on the value of the whole offer, not just the product or service. We're selling them, right? See, understand, when you include things like, let's say, we're gonna talk about this in a little bit, so I'm jumping ahead, but when you've got, let's say, you've got a soft offer where it's like, pay nothing today, enjoy use the software for the next 30 days. And only, if you're blown away by it and head over heels thrilled, would you pay? And you also get these bonuses, right? And, And even if you don't love it, send one email, you'll be able to keep the bonuses. And then you've got 6 months to keep using it. And it either improves your production, your productivity, or I'm going to give you your money back plus, another $100 or something like that, right? What you're ultimately selling them on is the value of that entire offer, not just the product, because there's value and benefits to each of those little things that I just rattled off there. There's value and benefit to the bonuses. There's value and benefit to being able to keep the bonuses, even if you don't like it. There's value and benefit to being able to experience the software in this example before you pay for it. There's value and benefit to then knowing that you can use it for the next 6 months and you either see results or you get your money back plus an extra $100. See, we're getting buy-in on the value proposition based on the whole offer, not just the product. And so I want you to begin another little mindset shift here. I want you to begin to view the offer as the quote unquote product. So up to this point, many of you have likely been thinking like that the core, the 80% of the offer is the product, right? Like what they get, you know what I mean? They get a bunch of videos, they get a bunch of audios, they get a bunch of Q&As, they get recordings, they get access to this, they get a Facebook group, they get all these things. You've been thinking that, right? Ultimately that product makes up the bulk of the offer. I really want you to begin to look at the offer as a whole and all of the pieces that we cover today as the product that you are marketing and selling. We're marketing and selling prospects on the offer, not the product, right? We're ultimately marketing and selling them on the value of the offer. When we go into offer presentation mode, we are getting buy-in on the entire offer, not just the product. Now look, and I've been asked this question before. Let me take a drink. If not, man, I will lose my voice quickly. That's what happens now after all these years, after 20 plus years doing this, man, the voice is getting weaker. I've been asked before, like, well, what do you do, man? How do you compete if you're selling the same exact product as, let's say, somebody up the street, right? And where does this question come from, right? This question comes from the thought, the perspective that, well, I'm competing on the product. The product is the offer. Therefore, how do I compete? But the product is not the offer. The product is only a piece of the offer. So let's say we were selling the same grill as a store up the road. And let's say the store up the road, if they're like the typical entrepreneur, the typical business, they're selling the grill. What do you get? You get the grill. It's $3,900 and you have a 14-day guarantee, right? Like, and that's what do most entrepreneurs do, right? They'll either go with the same offer, or what will they attempt to do? What do you think the average entrepreneur, the typical entrepreneur who doesn't know what you guys know, right? What do you think they would do to try to compete here? What is the number one move? Exactly. Sarkis, you got it. Dion, Sarkis, you got it. They would try to discount. What they would do is they would lower their price, right? And they end up eating away at their margin, and trying to compete on low price is a race to the bottom. And so, right, is a race to the bottom. Just ask Kmart what happens when you try to be the lowest price provider, and then somebody else comes along like Walmart and eats your lunch, right? And so not only is that business brutally difficult when you're trying to compete on price because you've got weaker margins, right? But you run the risk of somebody else coming along, having a different business model and just saying, you know what, we sell a lot of other things besides just grills. And so we're willing to break even on the grill. Like, I'll break even on the grill. I'll sell it at cost. I'll sell it for $1,500 and crush everybody else, right? If that's what happens. You don't want to do that. And so then we've got this other option, right? And the other option, like Mitchell just said, Mitchell, kudos, man. You're absolutely right. You can start to improve the offer. So we can say you get the grill, you get a free set of brand new barbecue utensils. We have a whole online course on grilling mastery that you get access to for life. You get a free grill cleaner. You get free shipping and setup. So you don't even have to lug this bad boy out of the store. We're going to deliver it to you and for you. And then we're going to set this bad boy up, and you get a 1-year guarantee, and it's only, $650, 6 payments of $650. This is a wildly different offer. Same product, right? Same product ultimately, but a wildly different offer. Now, the reality is, and I want you to understand, just going off script, so to speak, for a second, the reality is that I could probably even charge more. I could probably charge an extra $100, right, on this offer, make it a cool $4,000 on this bad boy, so that I'm not absorbing any additional costs, right? So in other words, I'll take the cost of the free barbecue utensils, the free grilling videos, which is really no cost, the free grill cleaner, and the shipping and setup. I could add an additional $100 to it, right? To just compensate for those things. And we would probably still win, right? Like we would probably still win, because it's hard to say, well, for an extra $100, man, I get delivery, I get setup, I get barbecue utensils, I get grilling videos, I get grill cleaner. Like I get a 1-year guarantee on this bad boy. Like it's hard to, to say no for just an extra $100 for that. The point that I'm trying to share with you here, right, is that you could have the same product and you could have a wildly different offer. And the quality of the offer will have a radical impact on how well that bad boy sells. Also, a radical impact on what you can charge, because with the right offer, right, if somebody is, let me take a step back and just share something off the wall. So my COO and I, named Damien, been a lifelong friend. I've known him since he was like 16 years old. So we dabble in some real estate, and we were looking at a property. I don't know, it was like 179 grand or something like that. And there were offers already submitted, right, to the owner. There were offers submitted, and there were a handful of offers that were above asking. And so, but we knew that the overwhelming majority of those offers that were submitted were traditional mortgage, based offers. And so we were going to pay cash. And so I said, go in and put in an offer for 173, let them know that we'll pay cash and we can close as soon as they want. So there's no bank stuff, there's no delay, there's nothing, right? We'll pay cash and we can close as quickly as they want. That's a radically different offer. See, the other elements changed. I'm sharing that in this context because what I want you to understand is that there are ways that you can increase the price point. Like you can increase the price point. If you look at this, no, so this isn't right. Like we could have 6 payments of 700, right? Which is more than what it is that option number 1 is charging, but we have a more attractive offer because they're paying less today. They're getting all these things, free shipping and whatnot. The whole point is this, not to belabor this point, but the product is just a piece of the offer. With a better offer, you can become wildly more attractive to the same marketplace, even increasing price point. Every direct response marketing campaign has an offer. And this is kind of, we're going to wrap this up, this little section, and start to get into the Your Winning Offer process. Every direct response marketing campaign has an offer. What I want you to realize, I want you to think of this, right? I want you to recognize this. And I'm sharing this because I know that there are likely some people on here that, let's say, are doing some sort of telephone call, right? So at the end of a VSL, your call to action might be to jump on the phone, right? And ultimately maybe you're selling on the phone, right? And so you're not selling a product at the end of your marketing campaign. You're ultimately, quote unquote, selling on an offer to jump on a phone, but it's an offer nonetheless. A lead magnet, right, is an offer. There are, right, what does the prospect get, right? And what do they need to do to get it? That's still an offer. Just because there is no financial exchange doesn't change the fact that it's an offer. Because when we get to the components of a proposition, the proposition portion of an offer, you're going to see that there's price. The price might be 0, but that doesn't change whether it's an offer or not. And so a lead magnet, right, is an offer. I'm sharing that with you because much of what it is that we've already talked about and much of what it is that we are going to talk about applies in every situation. Same thing with the CTA, the call to action of scheduling a call. That is still an offer. You're still presenting an offer. So there is still, what does the prospect get and what do they need to do to get it? you still have to have that same mindset because you're ultimately making them an offer. Just because there is a zero price doesn't mean that it's not an offer. And I've seen so many marketers make the mistake of underestimating the task at hand, right? They underestimate the task at hand when it comes to moving a prospect to buy. I should really say here, when it comes to moving prospects to act, it takes extraordinary measures to compel people to act. You can never, ever, right, underestimate, or you shouldn't ever underestimate the task at hand. You've got to recognize lead magnet is an offer. There's a reason. Listen to me, guys, right? Listen to me. What is the average? Somebody tell me what you believe is the average opt-in rate for a lead magnet from, let's say, cold traffic. Somebody just pop in a number, the average. What is the average opt-in rate for a lead magnet? Isn't it interesting to see the difference in some of the numbers? 0.5%, 9%, 13, 5, 2.5. I so appreciate by the way, you guys all engaging and answering. 30%. Let's see who had the highest. So 10%. Chris Cole. Hey, Chris, shout out to my boy, Chris Cole, an amazing marketer, stud guy who is wildly skilled in this arena. Great to have you here, buddy, as always. April, 30%, right? And so let's just take the absolute highest number on here. Okay. So that's 50%. Okay. So 50% depends on the offer. It depends on a lot of things, right? Of course, it depends on the offer, which is funny, Robert. You're absolutely right, right? It depends on the offer, right? Because a crappy lead magnet offer, excuse the expression, could do 10%, 11%, 12%, right? Where a great one can do 40, maybe 50%. But if you think about this, right, 50%. So Casey said 50%, which is the highest number on here. That means that half of the people don't even want to give you their email to get your free thing. Half of the people aren't even willing to give you their email to get your free thing. And so my point in sharing that is, even if that was the average across the board with a lead magnet, a free thing, half of the people aren't even willing to give you their email address to get it. Why am I sharing this with you? I'm sharing this with you because, right, you should never underestimate what it takes to move somebody to act. And so you've got to take, the same mindset that we've been talking about and that we're going to continue to talk about related to offer engineering. And you have to carry that through. Just because it's free, just because it's a lead magnet, doesn't mean that you should shortcut it and that you should spend 7 minutes thinking about it and then roll with it, because you're going to suffer for it. You're going to wind up with a 10% or 8% or 12%, meaning that 90, 85+% of the people that hit the page are like, I'm out. Right? Same thing with a strategy session. You've got to recognize that same mindset. What does the prospect get when they schedule this strategy session, right? What do they get in terms of results, in terms of outcomes, in terms of changes, in terms of alleviation of pain, right? Are there any kind of bonuses that they get? Is there any kind of guarantee? This is why sometimes you see, right, like schedule a call. I'm going to give you XYZ bonuses, and regardless of what happens at the end of the call, you can keep those as my gift. And you either see that this was the most valuable 45 minutes that you ever spent, or you let me know and I'm going to pay you $100, right? That's not just a strategy session. Right. And so, and when we add in there the benefits, like we're going to talk about, like now you've got something different. And so you've got to recognize, never underestimate the task at hand. This also applies to what it is that we're now about to talk about, which is really the first stage in offer creation. It's really the first stage in all of marketing. It's the worst stage, at least to me it is, right? Because it's the most tedious, but it's necessary. And so you got to recognize that if you're not willing to, like, you got to recognize that, like, you got to be willing to do the work necessary to have marketing, to have an offer that is nailed, right? It can change your life. Right? It's not cliche to say that one great offer for one marketing campaign can change your life forever. That's not cliche. That's not hype. That's not exaggeration. That's the reality. But you've got to be willing to do the work necessary to have it, which brings me to this first piece, this first chunk that we need to talk about, which is the examination stage. The examination stage for us, right, is the first stage in the E5 method. I'm not going to get into the full examination or research from the E5 method. I'm going to keep it specific to offer engineering. But you need to recognize that, right, examination, you could just use the word research if you want. It's a little different. The reason why I call it examination is because it's not really research. It's really more analysis than anything that you're going to see. But the research stage is where the money is made. In marketing, in offer creation, the research stage is where the money is made, right? And that's because we're going to really ultimately, when it comes to examination, there are three things that we look at. And when I said to you earlier, right, that you engineer your offer before you work on a single piece of your marketing campaign. Well, the reality is that you really want to do the examination before you do anything else. So the truth is that even before you sit down to engineer an offer, you really need to do the examination that I'm going to explain to you, because without the examination, then it becomes very difficult to develop a winning offer like I'm going to show you today, because you're operating absent of information necessary to make certain decisions. See, the beauty is that, right, like the gold that you need, the insight that you need in order to be able to craft a winning offer and ultimately a winning marketing campaign is found and unearthed during the research. It's not in your head, right? It's not like on a blank piece of paper or blank Word document. It is out there through the research. So there are three things that we always examine before we create a marketing campaign. I'm going to tell you the two that we're going to talk about for offer creation. So let me first give you the three. So the first one is the prospect. Obviously, this is the most important category of examination and research. Like, right, we started out our time together today earlier talking about the number one priority in order of impact on conversions being the audience. Well, it's not just that we are talking to the right audience, but it's that we know that audience. We know what makes them tick. We understand their problem, the problem that they're trying to solve. We understand the issues that problem is causing them, right? We understand their wants and their desires as it relates to solving the problem. We understand their emotions and feelings. We understand their belief. We understand what offers they've seen. And I'm going to cover this in just a little bit, but it all begins with your prospect, because how do you create a wildly compelling offer, an offer that is a no-brainer for a prospect to say yes to if you don't know the prospect, right? If I just said to you, I want you to come up with a wildly compelling offer for a market, and I didn't tell you who the market was, how do you come up with an offer? Or if I told you what the market was, but you knew nothing about the prospect, how do you come up with a compelling offer? Right? You really can't. And so the very first thing that we're going to examine, and I'm going to give you kind of a shortcut for the offer process, is the prospect. The second thing, after we've examined the prospect, is we then examine competitors. Competitors here, and I'm going to give you this global view for a second, and then we're going to drill down into how these apply to the examination for offer creation. Excuse me. So for competitors, right, we need to understand, what are they saying to the marketplace? What promises are they making to the marketplace? How are they describing their solution? What offers are they presenting to the marketplace? We need to know that. If we're going to come up with a superior offer compared to competitors, well, if we don't know what they're offering, then how do we come up with a superior offer? How would we ever know if our offer was superior if we don't know what our competitors are offering? And so we've got to examine what competitors are saying, how they're describing their product, what promises they're making, what benefits they are conveying, what the offer is, the price, the terms, the bonuses, the guarantee, all things that we're gonna talk about in just a little bit. And then, of course, right, finally, after we've examined prospects, right? So let me say this. The reason why we start with prospects when it comes to examination and then go to competitors is because now we can look at competitors and we can see if certain competitors are off the mark in terms of what it is that they're saying, what it is that they're offering, based on what we now understand about the prospects, right? So we start with the prospects, the foundation, critical, right? Critical, that we pay attention to prospects, or excuse me, examine prospects. Then we go over to competitors, and now we see what are competitors doing, saying, all that, which we're gonna talk about. And then finally, after we examine prospects and competitors, then we go over, that should say, I knew I was going to catch a typo at some point. That should say product. And so prospect, competitors, product. And so product meaning your product, your service. So we only dig into your product, your service, to start to identify the benefits, to start to identify the promise, to start to identify what's unique about it, potentially the unique mechanism, right? We only dig into the product, your service, after we've examined prospects and competitors. Because if we started with your product or service, or if you started with your product or service, well, then odds are, right, you could see things or believe you're seeing things that could be valuable to the marketplace, but you really don't know what the marketplace wants, right? And so what happens when marketers and entrepreneurs start by examining their own product first, and let me fix this because this is going to drive me nuts for you. I don't want anybody to be confused. Let me see if I could do this here. Product. There we go. That was just driving me nuts. Right? What they end up making assumptions about, right, what the market wants, what the market would be excited about, what the market would like, and they're really pulling it from their own internal world or their own internal perspective. You've got to recognize that as an offer creator, as an offer creator first, marketer second, that you've got to learn to see the world through your prospect's eyes. It's not about what motivates you. It's not about what excites you. It's not about what drives you. It's all about the market. You've got to learn to step out of your shoes and see the world through their lens, through their eyes. Doesn't matter if there may be lots of things that they get excited about that you wouldn't. Right? Doesn't matter, right? Like, it doesn't matter if you wouldn't. It only matters if they would. There are a lot of things that you might get excited about that they wouldn't. Again, like, right? It doesn't matter what you would get excited about. It doesn't matter what you wouldn't get excited about. It doesn't matter what you'd find compelling or what you don't find compelling. It doesn't matter what you'd be interested in. It doesn't matter what you would respond to. It matters what the market is interested in, what the market cares about, what the market feels. And oftentimes for many of us, especially those of us that have been in our market for any significant length of time, you've got to really resist the curse of knowledge, right? Like, you got to resist the curse of knowledge, and you got to recognize that more often than not, you are not the prospect. You are not your prospect. Right. And so if I was marketing and presenting an offer to a new online entrepreneur, a new entrepreneur using direct response, I've got to recognize that my perspective, my language, my phraseology, my understanding, my interests, my feelings, my concerns, the things that I might be overwhelmed with, the things that I find easy, have nothing whatsoever to do with how the audience sees it. And the only thing that I care about, the only thing that you need to care about is the prospect. Now, we're going to talk about, for offer creation, to keep this simple, we're going to talk about prospect and competitors. And so let's talk about examining prospects. This is really just a questioning kind of flow, a questioning process. This is kind of the way that I would say this is, these are things that you need to get clarity on. And so first and foremost, right, what problem do your prospects want resolved? What problem do they desperately want resolved that you are resolving? So I don't mean what are all the problems that they have, right, in the world, right? Because I don't think you have a product to take care of all those. But what is the problem that they want resolved that you are addressing? Now, I want to explain something very quickly, and this is important, that when I say problem in this context, there are really two categories of problems that we deal with in direct response, in marketing with offer creation. One is what most people think of when they think of problem, which is the existence of a pain point, like a frustration, a disappointment. God forbid somebody's got arthritis in their knee and they're in pain and they want to get out of pain, or God forbid their house is being foreclosed on and they don't know what to do to save it, right? Or, you know, they are their cardiovascular health is terrible and they want to fix it, and they're scared to death of, you know, having a heart attack, something like that, right? And so that is the existence of a pain point that they want alleviated. But then there's another category of what we call problem in a direct response context, and that is an unfulfilled desire. And so unfulfilled desires are often different from the first category in that sometimes they're not associated with the presence of a pain point. So the example that I like to use all the time, why I have no idea, but I use this example all the time of, let's say I wanted a green, lush lawn. Like, you know, move into a new place, want a green, lush lawn, not sure what the heck to do, don't even know what kind of grass is out there, not a handy dude, like blah, 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 right? But I really would love to have a green, lush lawn. It's not that the lawn is dead or it's, you know, it's an eyesore, or it's an embarrassment in front of my neighbors. It's just, I really want it to be that much nicer. That's what we would call an unfulfilled desire, right? And so, you know, somebody that, let's say, is in physical shape and maybe wants a six-pack, you know, they want abs. It's not necessarily the presence of a pain point. Now, somebody that doesn't have abs, they could have emotional turmoil, you know, experience emotional turmoil over it. But that's probably a different issue that needs to be resolved, right? But it's not the presence of a pain point or discomfort. It's just the lack of a desire. It's that I desire something and I don't have it. The reason why I'm explaining that to you is because when I say what problem do they desperately want resolved, we're using words like problem and desperately and resolved. I'm talking about, right, it can fall into either of those. So you might be offering, your offer might be designed for an unfulfilled desire, or it might be designed for the alleviation of pain. I don't want you to think that, well, I'm not focusing on a pain point. I'm focusing on an unfulfilled desire. Therefore, it's not a problem that I'm solving. You are solving a problem, right? You're solving a problem. In the example of, right, like I want a six-pack, right? Like you could make the case that I want a six-pack. I don't have a six-pack, right? That in and of itself it's an unfulfilled desire. It's a problem. And maybe I don't even know how to get a six-pack. I've been trying and I don't have one yet. Or, right, I want a green lush lawn and I don't have one right now. Problem, right? And I don't know how to get one. I don't even know what I should do. That is what we call in a direct response context the presence of a problem. And so what problem are you solving? Because remember, when I said earlier, right, that people buy products and services for the benefits, for the result, for the transformation, for the outcome. We could really boil that down to saying that people buy products and services. They spend money on things to resolve problems, to resolve a problem, right? Like my portfolio isn't where I want it to be. That's why I'm investing in this newsletter, because I believe that it will get me to where I want to be. It'll show me how to do it, right? And so people buy products and services to resolve problems. What is the problem, whether it's the pain point or unfulfilled desire that they have that you are ultimately going to resolve? You have to be crystal clear on this. You have to be crystal clear on this, because the conveying to them, and listen to me. Let me actually do this for 1 second. That it's this important that I want you to understand this, that at the root of what it is that we're doing with an offer, with marketing, is we're showing the prospect. Listen to me. We're showing the prospect that we've got a different way for them to solve their problem, right? Like that we can solve their problem, that if they take advantage of this offer, right, which ultimately, right, is low risk, is all these things that we're going to talk about, that if they take advantage of this offer, they will go from where they are right now to where they want to be, period. That's ultimately what we are doing. That is the most important part, if you will, the essence of an effective marketing campaign and offer. That's why people respond, because I'm here and I want to be here. Can you get me from here to here and get me from here to here better, more efficiently, more effectively, faster, easier, quicker, whatever, than anybody else with less risk, that's ultimately what people want. And so that's ultimately what it is that we are conveying. Everything that we do and say and show and present and demonstrate from in the campaign all the way through to the offer is there to show the prospect, yes, if you respond to this, you can go from where you are right now to where you want to be. You need to know where are they right now that they don't want to be and where do they want to be. This is why you do this, the examination. This is why you have to answer the question of what is the problem that they have that they desperately want solved that you solve. And so let's go back here. Let's go back here. And so hopefully you guys can see my screen again. Somebody let me know you can see the slide deck. Good, cool. Yes, perfect. Okay. So what problem do they desperately want resolved? Next is, what do they want in a solution? And so what do I mean by, thank you guys, Leslie, Yang Bao, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, I'm terrible with names, Brett, Chris, you guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Sarkis. Cool. Okay. Awesome. So what do they want in a solution? Like, right, what is an ideal solution for the prospect? Like, what are, one of the ways that you can start to develop this with, by asking kind of both of these questions. Like, what do they want in a solution and what don't they want in a solution, right? Like, in other words, like we could certainly, let's think about something like, just for example, yeah, like, right. Amit said, solution with less efforts, like, right. Like you could start to think about, let's say we were talking about SEO and getting SEO rankings. Well, the reality is that like, right. How attractive would our solution be if there was a massive amount of manual labor that had to be done, where they had to work with a spreadsheet and go out and find websites, search on Google, go out, find them, search in the different websites, and then, paste the link back in the spreadsheet, right? So we could start to say, well, they don't want, like, when it comes to getting SEO rankings, like most people aren't going to find it wildly attractive to do a whole bunch of manual effort, right? Right. And so we can start to list that under what don't they want, and right. And from that, we can get the reverse for what they do want. Right. So when we identify what they don't want, we can see the flip side of that, of ultimately what they do want. But this is where you really want to have an understanding of really the way to really boil this down for, YWO language is what type of solution would your prospects find attractive, and what type of solution would your prospects find unattractive? Right? What type of solutions, right? And what different aspects of a solution would they find attractive, compelling, like cool? And what aspects or attributes of a solution would they find unattractive and tedious and, something that they don't want? And so what type of solution are they looking for? Another part of this, and this is really important, is what are the solutions that are already being presented to them? And if anything, they're being hammered, right? Like, let's say, for example, in the copy world, writing copy, for example. Well, I love talking about copy. I love writing copy. It was one of the very first things that I fell in love with 20 plus years ago. And I love it, right? And I have a copywriting training that I think is the best on the planet. I'm biased, of course, but the reality is that, right, there are tons of solutions, and have been up to fairly recently, for like learn how to write copy. And it was videos, or a lot, videos and fill in the blanks and blah, blah, blah. And right, those are a dime a dozen today. Unfortunately, right? Those are a dime. I wish they weren't, but those are a dime a dozen today. And so when I'm looking at what kind of solution do they want, part of this is, right, what have they already been hammered over the head with a dozen times? What would be a variation like that they, right? You might describe something that is not even in existence yet, in terms of they would love hand holding, like really, right? Like part of this offer for YWL was I was like, you know what? I know that this is the most valuable thing. And I want to pay my team to get on one-on-one with everybody that is willing to go through this training, invest the time, energy, money, effort to go through this with me. I want to pay my team to get one-on-one with people to actually do the offer with them live so they can see it. And I was like, I like that a lot because nobody else is offering that. And this is a critical component. And so when I looked at the solution, like part of what do they want? What do people want? What don't people want? Part of that was seeing what the marketplace, what our tribe is already being hammered with from others. And so hopefully that makes sense to you guys. If not, we can certainly talk about that during the Q&A. What other solutions have prospects been exposed to? Which ones are most popular? Which ones are most popular? Which ones are in high demand, like types of solutions? Because you can see, for what it's worth, markets evolve. I want you to pay attention to me for a second. What we're going to do is probably in another 12 minutes or so, we'll take our first bathroom break. I can't believe it, man. And so, but I want you to pay attention to me here. And so, listen to me, markets evolve over time. And so just because, let's say, just to give an example, just because, coaching programs were wildly popular in one marketplace, in a marketplace, let's say a year ago, that doesn't mean that a year from now, coaching programs are going to still be wildly popular, right? Because markets evolve in terms of sophistication, in terms of what they've been exposed to, in terms of what it is that they value, in terms of looking for the next quote unquote innovation or disruption. And so you've got to look and you've got to see what are the solutions that the marketplace has already been exposed to, right? And ultimately what we're looking for here, and you're going to see how we use this all later, so don't worry, right? We're looking for the opportunity to engineer something better, to engineer something superior, to build in, I don't mean engineer like create a whole new product. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about engineering a better, superior offer. And so, right, what other solutions have they been exposed to? What other solutions have they been hammered with? What other solutions are now considered or viewed as kind of dated and right? What are the solutions that aren't dated yet and are kind of popular, right? Sometimes this is different models to, let's say in the information world or the coaching world, to the way the coaching is being delivered, right? So you could see even in the evolution of markets, a while ago, there were online courses and that was it. It was just like online courses. There, even prior to courses, there were just like books, ebooks. When I first got started, it was like download a digital ebook, right? And then it became like, multiple collection of ebooks. And then when video, like, right, I was around when video just came online. Funniest thing, I tell this all the time as a side note, I had to pay $1,000 to learn how to put video online. Seriously, years ago. This was, like pre-YouTube, there was no WordPress, there was no ClickFunnels, there was none of that kind of stuff. Nuts. Anyway, right. And then course, right. Then there became courses. Then there became, Courses Plus with coaching, programs. Then there became, right, with like coaching where it was like a live Q&A. And then it kind of evolved to this cohort model where now you're going to go through it live. And right, things continue to evolve as markets become more sophisticated. So we're looking to see, is our solution, that the way that we're positioning it, the way that we're thinking of framing it, is it already being kind of hammered to the marketplace? Is it already being, are they already being exposed to it constantly? Next, how does the prospect feel about the problem? Like, so what are the emotions that they have about the problem, right? Like, is it frustration? Is it, anguish? Is it fear? Is it disgust? Is it anger, right? Is it excitement? Like in terms of the desire, like, is it, coming from this place of motivational joy, if you will? How does the prospect feel about the problem? This is important. You're going to see how this is important when it comes to the presentation of benefits during the proposition portion of the offer. And so, right, how do they feel about the problem? And how do they feel about the current available solutions? In other words, right? Like, so if overwhelmed and defeated, right, April, that's certainly like, and this is important. One other thing that I'll say is when we're doing this, like, especially when it comes to emotions, this is a question that I get asked all the time. from our E5 clients and students, like when we're talking about emotions, and they're like, how do I know, like, is it, frustration, like, or is it like, disappointment? And the answer is that it's not that black and white, right? Like we're not black and white creatures, right? We're very complex, dynamic creatures. There are a lot of lines. There's a lot of gray, right? There's a lot of gray. It's not a matter of identifying the right word to ultimately describe what it is that they're feeling. It's to make sure that you have clarity and a grasp of the sentiment that your prospects have. Like, right, some people might be coming into your campaign, and for some of you, excited, motivated, jazzed, like pumped, eager, greedy, like that sort of thing. Other people might be coming in, nervous, scared, anxious. All of those are kind of a blend, right? So it's not, well, is it nervous or is it anxious? Like, don't even sweat that. It's this vibe, the general vibe that you want to get. And so what's the general vibe in terms of how your prospects feel about their problem? And what's the general vibe of how they feel about the current available solutions, the options that they currently have? Are they disgusted? Are they skeptical? Are they jaded? Or are they jazzed about it? Or do they view it as, some of these things as a new breakthrough, right? And this is important because, right, if you look at things like, let's say, in the investing world, if you look at things like, let's say, crypto versus, let's say, index funds or something like that, right? Index funds being an old school, very ultra conservative investment vehicle, and crypto being the antithesis of that, right? Well, there's a different vibe, a different feeling in terms of emotions and views and viewpoint when it comes to people that are interested in crypto compared to the people that are interested in index funds, right? So while some of the people that are interested in crypto are wildly excited, just oozing with greed, or some of those people might also be wildly terrified if they're already in crypto. When it comes to index funds, you're not going to have the people that are interested there. You're not going to have those extreme emotions just by the nature of the solution. And so you really want to just get a handle on what is the general sentiment that your market has about the problem and about the available solutions. And then what beliefs, now these are just general beliefs, do they have, which you need to understand to best resonate and align with them? So this doesn't apply to every single one of you, but the example that I like to always use is, so one of my clients is this behemoth newsletter company, $1.5 billion a year company. And they, the majority of their subscribers are like, 50 plus white men, right wing, conservative guys, right, wrong, or indifferent. And so, obviously we know that there are certain beliefs that they hold, right? Certain beliefs that they hold about government, about the current president, about Congress, about the Clintons, right? Like about, former President Obama, like, right. There are certain beliefs that they have, like that the Democrats are evil and, and Trump is, the Messiah or whatever. And I'm just goofing, even though many people do think that. What was I going to say? I just lost my train of thought. Oh, and so the reason why that's valuable, the reason why that's important to understand is because, so this particular client, the Agora companies, so like they know that if they're ever going to mention or use, let's say, and again, right, wrong, or indifferent, this is not about politics. This is about understanding your audience and understanding the beliefs that they have and why it's important and how we use it. Right? Like if they were going to talk about the Clintons, they've got to talk about the Clintons in a negative light in their marketing. If they don't talk about the Clintons in a negative light and they chose to talk about them in a positive light, like let's say they had a campaign that was like, the smartest investment vehicle discovered by Hillary Clinton, how you can use it to become wealthy in the next 18 months or something like that, the market would absolutely not respond to them. right? Why? Because that would not resonate with their belief. That would butt up against, that would contradict what it is that that marketplace believes. Not every marketplace has that same belief, but it's important to just understand, are there certain beliefs that they have that that we need to know, so that number one, we don't contradict them. Number two, that we can use them to our advantage when talking about the offer. Same thing applies to right, wrong, or indifferent. Most people don't view attorneys favorably. You know, they don't view attorneys favorably. Many people, especially in the deeper alternative health space, really have disdain for the pharmaceutical companies, right? And so like pharmaceutical companies are out to, you know, to keep you hooked on medication, to keep these phenomenal natural treatments from you. And so see, that's important to understand. It's important to understand, right? Because again, you know, a novice marketer could make the mistake of thinking like, right, like, you know, pharmaceutically approved, you know, natural nutrient, you know, great to fight off, you know, cancer. That's, you know, that is a big mistake, merely for one reason and one reason only, because it does not resonate with an existing belief. And so you absolutely have to understand, are there any existing beliefs that the market has that we need to know, or that we could use to resonate with them, or that we need to make sure we don't contradict. So now let's talk about examining competitors, which is significantly easier. And it's kind of really just generally, it is really just seeing what it is that competitors are saying related to what it is that we just uncovered with prospects. So for example, what problem are they solving? Right? So what's the problem like? And this is where we can learn from savvy competitors. So number one, let me say this to be clear. I'm not a believer in funnel hacking. I love Russell. He's a good friend. I'm going out to Boise soon to speak for him at something. Great marketer, incredible businessman, love ClickFunnels, but I'm not a believer in funnel hacking. When I talk about examining competitors, most of what it is that we're doing, most of what it is that we're looking at is to see what competitors are saying so we know what not to say. Right. So let me say that again. Most of why we're doing what we're doing is not to funnel hack or copy or model. It is to see what competitors are saying so we know what not to say. And what I mean by that is not because we're making a judgment that competitors are wrong, but because differentiation is critical in marketing. Marketing, more so again today than ever before, is the art of meaningful differentiation. Marketing is the art of meaningful differentiation, meaningfully differentiating your product, ultimately your offer, from competitors. And so I'm not looking at competitors to understand what to say, to see what they're saying so I can say the same thing. I'm looking what they're saying so that I don't double up and model what it is that they're saying. But in this context, right, what problem are competitors solving? This could be insightful for us, because if we see a trend across a number of competitors, right, well, there might be something for us to learn from that. If we see multiple competitors that are all addressing the same problem and they're direct response marketers and they've been around for any significant length of time, then there's a good chance that they've identified the core problem that the market has. The other reason why we ask this question is because this may show you that there is a problem that is going unaddressed in the marketplace that you see and know from your examination is a critical problem to the marketplace. And so it gives us the opportunity to go in and address that problem. So what problem are competitors solving? What promise are they making? So I didn't get a chance earlier to talk about this. This is usually something that, again, this is more marketing campaignish, but it does carry over to the offer, which is why I'm sharing it in here. And that is, you got to understand that, right? That ultimately what creates engagement with your marketing campaign, what gets people excited and what ultimately gets them interested in the offer is the promise that you're making. And so, you know, like the promise. What is the promise of the offer? What's the promise of the product, right? And when we say promise, I mean ultimately what kind of outcome, transformation, results are you promising them that they will experience? What's the change that you'll promise them they will experience? What's the pain that you're promising them they'll get out of, and how quickly, and when, right? And what do they need to do? It could be, right? And so also, what's the, what unfulfilled desire are you promising them that they're going to experience, and how, and when, and where? And so what is the promise that they are making? The promise is at the foundation of marketing, right? Marketing is ultimately, if you really think about it, I don't want to be careful here, but marketing is ultimately just it is one gigantic promise with proof, is really what it is. It's like one gigantic promise with proof, excuse me, and then an offer to experience the promise. That's really ultimately what it is. Like, right? Like, what I'm about to show you is how you can experience XYZ, how you can get that 6-pack of abs in the next, in the next 3 weeks without having to diet, without having to do exercise, without having to take any crazy pills, do anything at night. In fact, what you're about to see is how to strip off 15 pounds of fat from your waist, in 60 seconds or less. Unheard of. I know. I'm going to show you all the proof, show you the new discovery, right? And so ultimately it's one gigantic promise with proof, and then an offer to experience the promise. And so, what promise are they making? So, right, like, what is the promise that they are saying to prospects, that prospects will experience when they take advantage of their offer, when they get their product or their service? What are they promising prospects they will experience? This is really important stuff to understand. Number one, this gives us the ability to see, are there any trends that we need to pay attention to? Like, is there a particular outcome that the majority of competitors are promising, right? Is there like, there's a lot, and we're going to circle back to this, but what promise are they making? What are the attributes of their solution? You're going to understand more about attributes of a solution in a little bit when we get to the panacea portion of the winning offer. Attributes like consist of, how much work is involved, how much energy does it take, how much of a learning curve is there, how uncomfortable is it to use the solution, how much risk is associated with the solution, how safe is the solution, how consistently does it work, right? Those are all attributes of the solution. And so is it, are they talking about how fast it works? Are they talking about how easy it is? Are they talking about how simple it is to get started? Are they talking about how safe it is, how little risk there is with it? Are they talking about a combination of those things? What are they talking about? What are the attributes that they are claiming for their solution? This is valuable stuff for us because, again, it shows us how to differentiate, right? It shows us how to position our product against competitors. Just remember, like Sarkis, posted with all caps in the chat. Again, never forget, at the root, the foundation, marketing is the art of meaningful differentiation. Above all else, especially, and I don't want to go down this path because I can get this was a 1-day training in and of itself on this topic. That the reality is that, right, people aren't interested in more of the same. People want different. They want to know, like, right, they want to know what's different about yours. What's different about the way that your product or service works? What's different about what you're claiming about your product or your service, about what it does, about how it does it, about how I can get it and benefit from it, about how quick it'll work, about how easy it is, about how safe it is. Ultimately, differentiation is critical because rarely do people spend money on more of the same. Rarely, really, the reality is that rarely do people engage with marketing and messages that are merely more about the same. And so again, what we're doing here is gathering fodder and insight to use when we put together our offer. What is their unique mechanism? So the unique mechanism, if any, so I want to, because I don't want to get into the weeds here with this, but this is valuable and important, and you are going to experience this on your creation session, is the unique mechanism is really simple. The unique mechanism is how your product or service works to deliver the result, right? So it is, right. And the reality is that every product or service has a mechanism. In other words, every product or service that works to produce a change, a result, an outcome has a mechanism. The way to think about a mechanism is it's how your product or service works. So if you said, right, if I asked you, well, what's the promise? Promise is this, take this supplement and it'll bring down your blood pressure. And then I asked you, well, how does it work to bring down blood pressure? Like, why is it able to work to bring down blood pressure? Like, how does it work? And you would be able to explain to me, well, it's XYZ nutrients in there. And what they do is they expand the arteries, they loosen the arteries, and therefore they bring down the, blah, blah, blah. They make the arteries more pliable because blah, blah, blah. Right. And so you'd be able to explain that that's a mechanism. Right. And so the key is, right, is identifying how your product or service works to deliver the result, and how it works to deliver the result differently from the majority of competitors out there. And I don't want to get into the weeds here. I don't want to confuse anybody here because this is more of a marketing tactic than it is anything, but we do use it in the offer when possible. But what you're looking for is, are your competitors claiming that they have a unique mechanism? Is there a unique system, a unique framework, a unique algorithm, a unique formula, a unique process that they have named that they are claiming is the reason why their product or service is able to deliver the result better than anybody else? And some of the folks that have been through E5 on here, and I'm not even sure who's on live. I know a lot of people are going to be watching the recording, but if you're on here live and you've been through E5 and somebody has a question about the unique mechanism, fire away in the chat, and those folks will be able to help you. But it is how your product or service works to deliver the promise, how it works to deliver the result, and in a unique way compared to competitors. That's all we're talking about. So again, every product has a mechanism, because every product that works, there's a reason why it works. That reason why it works is what we would refer to as the mechanism. Whether it's a unique mechanism or not is all depending on whether other competitors, their products work the same way, and whether anybody has named it and is showing what makes it different in the way that it works. And so, are they claiming that there's any, again, unique framework, process, system, algorithm, whatever, behind how their product is able to deliver such great results? And then ultimately, what is their proposition? And the proposition we are going to cover in just a little bit. The proposition portion of a winning offer is what most people think of as an offer. And so, right, you heard me say in the messaging for this, and we're going to take our first bio break in just 2 minutes. You heard me say that the difference between the traditional offer and a winning offer is a winning offer is built with 3 legs, 3 kind of components. And the regular offer is really one component. That one component that makes up a regular offer is a component, is one of the 3 for a winning offer. And that's typically what we refer to as the proposition. The proposition is what, when you think of an offer, you think of, well, what are the price? Well, what do I get? Right? What are the deliverables? What's the price? What's the terms? What's the bonuses? What's the risk reversal? That is the proposition. And so ultimately here, and this is one of the most important steps when we're examining competitors, we want to know what is their proposition. So what are they offering? What are the deliverables? What do I get if I respond to competitor A? What do I actually get in terms of the deliverables? I get videos, I get audios, I get this, I get this. We need to know that, right? What's the price? What's the terms, which we're going to cover? So you're going to understand all this by the time we're done. What are the terms? What are I said bonuses, price, terms, and what's the risk reversal proposition, all of which we're going to cover. You want to know that. The reason why we need to know this, you need to know this, you want to know this, is because when we get into the proposition, we're ultimately going to learn this in just a little bit. When we get into the proposition, what we are creating or what we're engineering or attempting to engineer is what's called a SIN proposition. SIN stands for superior, irresistible, no-brainer. Superior is about competitors. Superior, right? Superior to what? How do we say your offer is superior? Superior to what? Superior to competitors. How do you know if your offer is superior to competitors if you don't know what competitors are offering, if you don't know their proposition? So in order for us to be able to put together a superior proposition, we need to know what your competitors are proposing or offering. And so only through that, it's very similar to, by the way, when it comes to even the unique mechanism. Well, how do you know you have a unique mechanism if you don't examine competitors to identify if they're claiming they have a unique mechanism, right? Because maybe you think you have a unique mechanism, but because you've never examined competitors, you really don't. You have the same mechanism as two of them, right? And now you don't have a unique mechanism, you just have a mechanism. The only way for you to know with certainty that you have a unique mechanism or that you have a superior proposition is by starting with the examination. And so this is why we start with the examination. I'm going to say this before we take our first bio break, that, you know, the examination stage, the examination process for me is the worst, right? Like I don't enjoy it. It's not fun, right? It's not that creative right brain activity. It's certainly not planning and plotting and engineering an offer and then creating, developing, a big idea, and then writing the lead and the marketing argument, all the things, talk about in E5, but it's where the money is made. It's where the money is made. I could show you streams of quotes from some of the best copywriters and marketers in the world talking about the value of research, from some of the old school copywriters like Gene Schwartz, Breakthrough Advertising, John Caples, my buddy Mark Ford, Brian Kurtz from Boardroom, Clayton Makepeace. I could go on and on about the value of research. It is where all the gold is found, right? Because it's the better you keep your finger on the pulse of your market, your prospects, your competitors, the better your offers will be, the better your marketing will be, the more your messaging and your offers will resonate with people, the more you know about them, the easier the game becomes, period. And so it's tedious, it's boring, right? But do not shortcut this at all. Do not shortcut this process. With that, when we return, we're going to finally get into the winning offer. I'm going to talk about the components of a winning offer, and then we're going to get into the three legs. And so each of the three legs, we're going to go piece by piece. We're going to start with component number one, break it down into excruciating detail. Component number two, break it down into excruciating detail. Component three, break it down into excruciating detail. And so this is where really we begin to see the rubber meet the road, so to speak. And so with that, what we're going to do is we're going to take, I think I promised you guys an 8-minute break. So we're going to take an 8-minute break starting now. We'll reconvene and we're going to rock and roll. Come back on time, refresh, grab something to drink, go to, grab a little bio thing, and I'll see you in 8 minutes, 7 minutes. There we go. So we are back. Like I said, some juicy questions have already come in the little Q&A area. You're certainly more than welcome to start popping them in there now. If I answer the question throughout the rest of our time together, you can just let me know in there, and then I'll skip your question. So Leslie said, I love the countdown timer. Great idea. Oh, cool. Somebody else asked me, I'll tell you exactly. People ask all the time, like, how do I do this? Like, fancy pants streaming inside of Zoom. This is actually super cool and super easy. So first of all, for what it's worth, the camera that I have is like a Canon M50. So it's a regular like DSLR camera. I don't remember, it was a few $100. It's years old at this point now. And this mic is expensive. I don't know if it's really worth it. I've used I think that you could get like a Rode Podcaster, and it's just as fine. That was the one that I used before. I have another mic over here and that I rarely use. But here's the key. This is the software. Now I'm on Mac. I don't know if this is available for PC. If people still use PC, I don't even know. But I use Ecamm Live. And what Ecamm Live allows you to do is it allows you to Ecamm Live allows you to like stream like this. And so I can share my screen. I could do the countdown timers. I could do, you know, overlays. I could do like all kinds of crazy things with just the click of a button, the click of a mouse. I don't even, you know, I don't do a whole lot of crazy things that you can do on here, but it's literally Ecamm. They then have a feature on Ecamm where it's like a virtual camera. So then when I go over to Zoom and I choose my camera, I choose the Ecamm virtual camera. And that's what you're seeing here. So even if I was a guest on somebody else's Zoom, like if I was presenting for a mastermind or something like that, or a conference, I could just share my screen without having to take over the screen share of the official Zoom thing. I can play video on here, audio, the whole nine. And so that's how I do it. That said, I did also see none other than Michael Drummond in the house on here with us. For those of you that don't know Michael yet, you're going to get to know Michael. He is our lead E5 coach. I like to say that Michael knows probably as much about the E5 method and our whole process as I do. Some of you guys and gals are going to get to know him and know him really well. This guy is a wizard when it comes to our process and system. And so I don't know how long he'll be on here with you guys, but if you have a question for him about something, you can certainly pop it into the chat. And I'm sure he'll be gracious enough to answer that if he's still on here with us. With that being said, let's get rocking and rolling. There he is. Let's get rocking and rolling. I'm going to share my screen again, and we are going to go to the components of a winning offer. So components of a winning offer, let me just make sure that I got the chat pulled up. So in case I botch anything, hopefully you guys can see, excuse me, you guys can see my slides again, just make sure we're all good. Yes, perfect. Okay, awesome. Chris, Leslie, cool. So let's talk about David. Thank you so much. Brett, yeah, awesome. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you for the engagement. I love it. Makes me feel great to know that you guys are engaged and paying attention. So let's talk about the components of a winning offer. This is very simple and very straightforward. I told you that there are three legs to a winning offer. There are three kind of aspects to a winning offer. The first one is what I call an attractive panacea. It's really an attractive solution. I use panacea because I wanted 3 Ps, to be honest with you. And so it's really an attractive solution is what we're talking about. Next is a sin proposition. And then finally, and this is the part that a lot of people neglect, is the presentation, which is the flow and the languaging used, which is so important. And so it's this combination of these 3 components that make up a winning offer. When we have an attractive panacea, an attractive solution, which we're going to talk about, and part of that is also marketing, positioning, framing. When we have a sin proposition, and when we present it with the right flow and the right languaging, you have the makings for an incredible offer. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start and we're going to go through these 3. Now you can see in the upper left-hand corner, you can see this is the first of 3. So as we progress, just so that you know where you are, you'll see us progress through these 3, just so that you can, again, you can know exactly where you are. Now, I want to start with this as it relates to an attractive solution, an attractive panacea. And that is this, that what I want you to understand, I want you to get this. Okay. I want you to pay attention to this because it took me a very long time to realize this, that, you know, there are a lot of people out there that talk about this idea of an irresistible offer. And right. And it's almost become cliche, this irresistible offer. The reality is, right, like if you really think about it, the majority of marketers that are at least somewhat experienced, they've heard irresistible offer out the wazoo at this point. The reality is that most of their offers are wildly resistible, right? They're wildly resistible. They're the farthest, even though they know irresistible and they've heard it and they get it and they understand it, right, and whatnot, most of the offers out there are wildly resistible. And so what most people think of immediately, and you're going to see how this goes back to what it is that we talked about earlier, what most people think of immediately when they think of making or engineering an irresistible offer is, where do they go? They go to the proposition. They go to what does the prospect get, like the deliverables? What is the price? What are the terms? What are the bonuses? And what's the risk reversal? They immediately go to the proposition elements, right? And those proposition elements are the same proposition elements in an average offer and in a winning offer. It's how we do them and how we execute on them that makes the difference. But that's where most people go, is they think about the proposition, and what they neglect is they neglect to address what hopefully you guys and gals now understand when we talked earlier about what does the prospect get and what does the prospect need to do to get it. And we talked about in there more than just, right, the typical irresistible offer. Okay, go to proposition, right? Because what does the prospect get? Let me give them a bunch of stuff. Let me load it up with a bunch of stuff. And what do they need to do to get it? Let me kind of make it a cheap price, right? Fill out the order form, and they're off to the races. See how that all ties together, that whole mindset of what is, right? What's an offer? It's what the prospect gets and what they need to do to get it. What does that mean? That what we're talking about is, what do I actually give them, right? Like the deliverables, and what do they need to do to get it? They need to pay, and they need to go to an order form, and real simple order form. And so that's where they operate. And what happens from that mindset is they end up neglecting one of the foundational keys when they don't realize that what the prospect gets is more than just the deliverables. It's the benefits, the results, it's the risk reversal and the confidence and whatnot. And they certainly neglect to really understand the impact of what does the prospect need to do to get it. The things like time, commitment, effort, discomfort, work, money, risk, all that kind of stuff. And what ends up happening is, what most people do, to really just kind of boil it down, is they end up offering a really ugly solution with what they believe is an irresistible proposition. So they've taken an unattractive solution, a solution that the marketplace doesn't find wildly attractive, and they've tried to wrap it in an irresistible proposition. And the example that I'd like to give you is this. I don't know why I'm going back to this whole green lawn thing. I got to come up with a better example, but hopefully this is an extreme example and this will make sense. And so, like, look, I could come across somebody that has my lawn is fine, by the way. I might come across, if I was in that market for that type of help and guidance, I had that kind of unfulfilled desire, I could come across an offer that was like, pay nothing today. It was a soft offer, pay nothing today, right? Use the solution for the next, whatever, 30 days. And I either have a green lawn or I don't have to pay anything. And I get these cool bonuses, these guides and whatnot to go with it, and these cheat sheets and everything. And then, 6 months later, if my lawn still isn't gorgeous and green, I can get all my money back plus, an extra $50 or a gift card or whatever. Right. And on the surface, that seems like a wildly irresistible proposition. It seems like on the surface that is a proposition that is difficult to say no to. But, right, if the solution involved or required me sleeping outside for 48 hours on my lawn, and every hour on the hour having to dig up my lawn, expose the soil with my bare hands, and then spit some saliva in it and put the dirt back, and do that every hour on the hour for 48 hours straight, I don't care how irresistible the proposition is. I ain't buying, right? I ain't buying. And so it don't matter, like, I don't even want it for free because I'm not interested, because I'm not willing to do that. Because to me, the value exchange of what it is that I have to do to get the value, the benefit, the payoff is so ridiculous, is so absurd, is so out of the realm, right? And so my point in sharing that with you is that, right, an irresistible proposition for an unattractive solution still will not sell. And so you've got to begin first, before you form the proposition component, right? Ultimately, we want to start with a wildly attractive solution. Now, right, we want to start with a wildly attractive solution first. We want to start with a wildly attractive solution, and then we want to be able to offer it with a SIN, superior, irresistible, no-brainer proposition, and then present it with the right flow and languaging. But the very first thing, right, is the quality and attractiveness of the solution that you're offering. This is ultimately the thing that they're going to do. What has to actually be done, right, for them to get the reward. It's just like even with like consulting, or if you had an agency, but yet part of what it is that you did was they had to show up every day for an hour at 7 a.m. in the morning, right, for the next 3 weeks. Well, I don't really care what your proposition is. I don't care how much cheaper it is than everybody else. I don't care what bonuses you're going to give me. I don't care what risk reversal you're going to offer me. I'm not interested in doing that. That is so unattractive. It's so unappealing, right, that it doesn't matter what the proposition is. And so we always begin with the most attractive solution that we possibly can. Now, this part of the winning offer creation process or engineering process is probably the one that is most limited, because what this really ultimately involves is your product, is ultimately involves your solution. And so this one is arguably the most difficult to really move, but not impossible by any stretch, and not hard. It's the most difficult of everything of the three, but not hard. And so what I want to cover with you is what is viewed generally as an attractive panacea, an attractive solution. And so this is critical. So number one of an attractive panacea solution is, of course, at the foundation that it solves a significant problem or unfulfilled desire for the prospect, right? So once again, let's be crystal clear. And I don't mean to continue to kind of cover these foundational things, but I want to just reinforce these critical points that if your offer, if your solution doesn't solve a problem, a pressing problem that your prospect has or unfulfilled desire, nothing else matters, because what people buy is the resolution of the problem. And so, right, like somebody could offer a great solution for something, right, with an irresistible proposition, right? And if I'm not interested, or I don't see that I have that problem or believe that I have that problem, then I'm not buying it, right? I'm not buying it. And so, right, it solves a significant problem or unfulfilled desire. Now, on that kind of flip side, which we already talked about, it also produces a big desirable result. And so this is key because, and I want you to understand something here, because this goes back to the saying of, right, is the juice worth the squeeze? So hypothetically, right, you might, let's say you're selling a course on, or a program or a training or something, or agency services or consulting services, whatever, or software on getting more traffic, right? And so what you're addressing is the lack of traffic for a particular market. And you ultimately are able to promise them that they will get more traffic, right? If they do this, these first two bullets of an attractive solution. Well, if your promise is that with this solution, you will get a whopping 8 additional visitors per week to your website, odds are for the majority of you, that ain't going to be a big desirable result. The juice isn't worth the squeeze. In other words, for 8 additional visitors to our website per week, unless you run a very high ticket, ultra targeted concierge type of service, or you have an ultra high ticket, right? And there's a small marketplace, and right, which is the majority of you don't fall into that category. That's not a big desirable result. And so ultimately what you are looking for here is you're looking for a solution, or you're looking to engineer and create a solution that is able to produce a big desirable result. Now, I want to be crystal clear about something here. I am not saying merely promise a big desirable result. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying, well, if your thing only can produce 8 additional visitors a week, and just promise them 8,000 a week. That's not at all what I'm saying. That's why I said to you guys before we dove into this slide that this is about engineering. This is about tweaking, changing, optimizing, improving. This is about taking a good hard look at your solution and really asking yourself, is what this thing produces in its current form, enough juice to warrant the squeeze? right? Like enough of a result, enough of a payoff to warrant responding to the offer and implementing the solution. And so you really want a big desirable result. This is also why, as a side note, why it's so valuable and so necessary to keep your finger on the pulse of your market, why it's so valuable and necessary for you to do the examination. Because if you don't do the examination and you don't keep your finger on the pulse of the market and you don't know what the market has heard already, seen already, what the market is what the market considers like heard it, seen it, been there, done it, well, then how do you ultimately know what the market is going to see as a big desirable result? Remember, this is not what you feel is a big desirable result. It's what the market feels is a big desirable result. And so ultimately, we want a solution, right, that solves a problem or unfulfilled desire that the marketplace has, that they already know they have, and that they want resolved. And by solving it, it produces a big desirable result, a big desirable outcome for them, right? And so if somebody is interested in, like, losing weight, the reality is, right, if you said your diet, your diet program or your fitness methodology is going to help people lose a quarter pound a week, right? The majority of people might not be interested in that. Why? Because again, the juice is not worth the squeeze. And so you've got to recognize that. Right. This is why we often say, and I've been saying this for years, right, that you want a big, bold, audacious promise that is both true and believable. Right. And so a big, bold, audacious promise. I can't use any more adjectives in there. Big, bold, audacious promise, right, that is true and believable. And so ultimately, you've got to take a good hard look at your solution, and you've got to really ask yourself, like, man, is this producing a big desirable result based on what the marketplace would feel? Next is it viewed as quick and easy to implement, right? I could really rephrase this a number of ways, and I actually did rephrase this bullet a number of ways. So, right, this is, right, is there an opportunity for us to position it as quick and easy to implement? And so you're going to understand more about that in a little bit, because there are different ways, without lying, there are different ways to talk about certain results rather than other results to demonstrate, quick or easy or fast or speed, right? Is viewed as producing fast results, right? And so ultimately, right, like what we're talking about here is it's easy and the results are fast, right? The faster and easier the results, right? The faster the results and the easier it is to get the results, the more valuable your solution is. I think for those of you that read my buddy Alex Hormozi's book, I think that he did an excellent job on this area. Right. I think that in terms of in this area, he did an amazing job. I think it's a great book regardless, but I think he did an amazing job in this area of really demonstrating the value of the kind of the correlation between perceived value of a solution and speed and ease. And so, right, because you got to understand, when we talked about an unattractive solution, well, an unattractive solution is one that is difficult to use, right, and produces slow results, right? Difficult and slow, unattractive, right? Easy and fast, attractive, right? And of course, I know that there is a spectrum, and it's all relative, right? It's all relative to a marketplace. And so, right, this is not about, like, you might think a month is fast, right? But your marketplace might feel like 2 weeks is slow. And so, right, you've got to really recognize what the marketplace views, also what the marketplace has heard and seen before. But so let's just again recap, because I want you to see this in context, right? That it solves a significant problem or unfulfilled desire that your prospects know they have and want resolved. And in the process, it produces a big desirable result. And it produces that big desirable result quickly and easily, right? Quickly and easily. It's quick and easy to implement, right? And those results come quick. The results come quick. Now, one thing that you'll notice here, just as a little teaser for what's to come, is that let's say it produces a big desirable result of, let's go back to weight loss and say that you tell people that if they follow your program, they can lose 50 pounds, right? Like this is a program specifically designed for people that want to lose 50 pounds, minimum 50 pounds. And you guarantee that it'll take off 50 pounds. Does that mean that you need to promise them that they'll take off 50 pounds in a month? Absolutely not. Number one, it would be a lie. Number two, it wouldn't even be believable for most people. Number three, there is an opportunity for us to talk about, and we're going to talk about this in just a little bit, but there's an opportunity for us to talk about that it produces fast results, meaning maybe it starts working the very night you jump on the diet. Maybe it increases your metabolism and starts burning extra calories, right? Burning fat from around your waist the very first day that you begin the diet program. And so, right, there is the ability to say that, right, in that context, in this little example, that it does produce fast results, right? In fact, it begins working immediately. The very first night that you go on this program, your body's going to be burning more calories, more fat. You're going to be shedding weight. You might not see it on the in the mirror, right? But over time, right, in just a short period of days, you're going to see X amount of weight, and you're going to continue to see that consistently going forward, blah, 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 blah. And so there's still an opportunity to talk about producing fast results without having to talk about the end result, the main end result. And so important for you to understand. Next, it's viewed as new and different. And so, right, like what I'm talking about here. Now, look, let me say this is that this is right. In an ideal world, our solution would meet all of these criteria, right? That would be like you score a perfect 100. Does that mean that if you only have 90% of these bullets nailed, like when you're done engineering, that it's a failure? No, right? Understand that this would be like in the perfect world, right? Every bullet that I put up here, your solution would meet the criteria, but it doesn't mean that you have to have all of these criteria. And so is viewed as new and different. I already said that, like, look, and this is just in general marketing. What people pay attention to is new and different. People want new and different, right? At a bare minimum, I'm going to say different. And so, people aren't interested in more of the same, right? People are not interested in more of the same, right? Nobody shows up to a party or a social gathering and says, hey, so what's the same in your life that was 6 months ago? Nobody's interested in that. They want to know what's new, what's different, what's changed. And so same thing, right? When it comes to information, when it comes to, training, when it comes to methods, what people want is new and different. And so if your solution is different from the others, right, then it does a lot of things well beyond the scope of this training. It stimulates hope in your prospects because it gives them this feeling that this is different than anything I've tried before, anything that I've heard before. Maybe this is the missing piece that I've been lacking before. And so maybe this is the answer. Maybe this is the thing that's finally going to bring me to the promised land, so to speak. And so different is wildly valuable in marketing in general, but it's especially valuable in your when it comes to your solution. So again, right, and a lot of this is framing, right? A lot of this is positioning. You're going to get to see this done. Like you're going to get to see on your creation session, you're going to get to see this done. But it is, it's often turning the ordinary into the extraordinary by reframing it, by repositioning it, rather than just accepting that, well, this is a pure commodity. The fact of the matter is, for all of you, without going down this crazy path, you never want to market and sell a commodity. A commodity in this context is something that people can go and get the same exact thing somewhere else. If you're marketing and selling a commodity, your price is ultimately determined by the marketplace and the accepted price of that thing. And so you don't want to sell a commodity. You want to sell a differentiated solution. Remember what I said earlier, marketing is the art of meaningful differentiation. Part of that is differentiating our solution from every other solution. Ultimately, what you want to be able to say is that I've got a different way to give you the result, the promise that you want. My product, my service works differently to give you that outcome, that transformation, that result from everything else that you've likely tried or heard about up to this point. Right. Ultimately, that's what you want to be able to sell. Those of you that have been through E5 Acquisition Accelerator or the E5 Masterclass, you know that that's the heart and soul of an E5 campaign, of an E5 message, is demonstrating, is ultimately bringing to the market. I've got something different, and this different approach, right, works better at producing the result that you want than anything else. So ultimately, we want our solution to be viewed as new and different in the prospect's eyes. Next is that we want your prospect to see it as superior to other options. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this to just unpack this a little bit. So number one, right? Like people want the number one solution. Nobody, I've said this many times before, and it's partially joking, but it's really not. Nobody goes to Google and searches for the third best way to lose weight. Nobody's interested in the second best way to drive traffic, right? You ain't going to find a whole lot of searches there, right? And that's because people aren't interested in the inferior. People want the superior. People want the best, right, solution. Now, the reality is that there are a lot of criteria that you can claim superiority with. Right. So yours could be the fastest. It could be the easiest. It could be the safest. It could be the most consistent. It could be the most reliable. There's a lot of those kind of superlatives that you can claim, but we need to be able to, ideally, we want to be able to claim superiority in one or more of those criteria for your solution, because nobody wants just another solution. Nobody wants, again, nobody wants the second best or third best. They want to know that this is superior, right? And so we're ultimately looking for, it's either the easiest, it's either the fastest, it's either the safest, it's either the most reliable, it either produces the most amount of results, right? So like, look, and I want you to answer, I want you to realize something, that the reality is that we could have a diet program or a fitness program that is super easy to implement. That doesn't mean that it's going to produce fast results. That doesn't mean that it's going to produce a lot of results. That doesn't mean it's going to produce consistent results, right? That doesn't mean it's safe, excuse me, or safest. We could have something that produces fast results. Doesn't mean it's easy to implement, right? Doesn't mean that it's the safest. Doesn't mean that it's most reliable, that it's the most consistent. We could also have something that's the most consistent in terms of weight loss. Doesn't mean that it's the easiest. Doesn't mean that it's the fastest. Doesn't mean that it's the safest. It just means that it's the most consistent, right? And same thing with, the safest. Just because something is the safest doesn't mean that it's easy. Doesn't mean that it produces fast results. Doesn't mean. And so the point is that we're ultimately looking for the statement of superiority that we can claim, and not just claim it, but we want to have the rationale to be able to support it. So if I said, like when I talk about the E5 method, I don't talk about it being the easiest, because it's not the easiest, right? There are a lot of easier kind of methods for creating a marketing campaign out there. But this is certainly the most effective in terms of producing new buyers consistently at scale, right? It's not the easiest. I'm not going to claim that it's the easiest. I'm not going to talk about ease, right, or anything like that. I'm going to talk about how effective it is. I might also talk about other areas, like it's also the most reliable, and so right, it's the most effective and the most reliable of all the other methods, but and back that up. But the point is that you've got to claim your solution has to be superior in some area, right? In one or more areas. Now, understand, for what it's worth, without kind of opening up a can of worms here, that you obviously know that the offer comes, the offer comes at the end of your marketing and sales message, right? Comes at the end, right? We're not, for the most part, right? Unless you've got a winning offer where you're leading with the offer. For most people, their offer comes at the end. Well, for most people that have an average offer, if they claim that it's the fastest and the easiest, that has to be proven. You have to prove that. You have to give evidence of that. You have to give support of that. You have to give rationale, right? If I said this is the easiest, right, I could then say, well, the reason why is because, and then I can give rationale. And for what it's worth, without getting into this other realm, when I say the reason why is because, well, what I say next after that becomes proof, becomes support for the claim that I just made, that it's the easiest. If I said it's the fastest, and the reason why is because, right, it produces the fastest results. Like this works faster to produce results than any other fitness method out there. And the reason why it works so quickly is because boom, 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 boom. Then I'm going to give the rationale. right? And so that rationale that comes after I say the reason why is because serves as the proof and the evidence to support the claim that I just made. So in this context, without going down this crazy path, I'm not talking about you having to have, testimonials or case studies. Those things are all wildly valuable for sure. I'm talking about giving rationale support for when you claim some aspect of superiority, you got to be able to back it up. At a bare minimum, you have to be able to give a reason why. You have to be able to say the reason why is because, and then follow that up with an answer. If you can't give that explanation, or you don't have testimonials or case studies that prove it, then I wouldn't say it, right? Because you have no evidence. Even if it's true, right, it's not going to be believable without evidence, right? Or even if you believe it's true, it's not going to be believable without evidence, without support. So again, attractive panacea, attractive solution is seen as superior to other options in some aspect. Doesn't have to be all, right? Does not have to be all in one or more areas. Next is, right, in an ideal world, it can be positioned or framed, at least partially, as done for you, right? So the closer you can get to some aspect being viewed as, right, the work here in this area has been done for you, or the majority of work has been done for you, or a lot of the work in this area has been done for you. This not only makes the offer, the solution that much more valuable because it's tied back to ease, right? Work, again, what does the prospect need to do to get it? But it also increases confidence, which we're really going to talk about here, increases confidence on the part of the prospect that they can experience the results. See, right? Like, let's say, so I said earlier, right? I'm not a handy guy. Like me and tools, not good, right? Not good at all. And so, like when in doubt, like, my first response is like, take out a butter knife, right? And like, figure it out. Like we'll use a butter knife to, like, no, me and tools, no good, no bueno. And so, right, like, so if I wanted to learn how to, I don't know, replace my toilet bowl or something like that, which I don't attempt to do any of these things anymore, none, because I'm terrible at them. And even if I could pull it off, it would take me like 3 days to do it. And right, and like somebody said to me, like there were two kind of competing offers and two competing solutions. And one of the solutions involved like me watching videos, right? It's kind of like if you watch these videos, right? Even if somebody said you only need a butter knife and a wrench, right? And I'm going to show you, right, how to change your toilet bowl. And then somebody else was there was a way that they were able to like, they were able to send me, 2 or 3 components or pieces that I would be able to use that were already done for me to just use. It gives me that much more confidence that the outcome is more likely. Right. So the more I have to do and execute on my own as the student, as the receiver, as the prospect, as the buyer, the more I have to rely on my own understanding, my own education, even if it's through your program, my own execution, the less confidence I have that I'll do it, right? Because this goes back to that whole idea of they have to believe that it'll work, right? They have to believe that it's worked for others, and they have to believe that it'll work for themselves, right? And so, like most people lack confidence on their ability to execute and do it right. And so that was also largely why I decided, even with your winning offer, with this program, that I wanted you to jump on one-on-one and see it done, like, and have it done, have it done with you there live so you can see and understand the process and see it actual live and walk away, right? So that, right, rather than me just say, I'm going to teach you and then you go do it all on your own. Well, the reality is that many of you would think like, I'm going to botch it. I'm not going to remember everything. I'm going to miss certain points. I'm going to get one thing wrong. That one thing is going to destroy the whole thing, and the whole thing's going to blow up. And so the closer you can get to framing it as done for you, right? A part of it, a piece of it, the more of it that you can frame that way, the more confidence the prospect has. And so, and of course, regardless, right? the solution gives the prospect confidence in the outcome. And so ultimately, really, this is kind of almost, you could make the case that this last bullet is really a result of many of the other things. And so the easier it is to implement, the quicker it is to implement, right? The more of it is that's framed as done for you, the more that it's positioned as different from all the other difficult and tedious solutions and methods out there, the more confidence I have in the outcome, as well, coupled with proof and evidence. So the more proof and evidence I'm able to supply to support these things, these claims that I'm making, right? And all these things are claims. If I say, right, it produces a big result for you, right? Like it produces a big result, that's a claim. Right? Like anybody could say that. And many of you know that many of you are competing with people that say a whole lot of things, right? And have zero proof for it, right? It's easy and quick to implement. That's a claim, right? It produces fast results. That's just a claim. Anybody can say that, right? And you know, like for what it's worth, without going down a crazy rabbit hole, right? The reality is that the internet is the least trusted of all mediums of communication today. The internet is the least trusted of all communication mediums today. Why? Because people know that you can go online and say anything that is based on zero fact, right? Like nada, right? Now, granted, today we've become skeptical as a society of a lot of other mediums that used to have a lot of credibility, but I can assure you that the internet is the least trusted of all mediums. And so the point is that you've got to recognize that your audience knows that anybody could say anything online and make any claim about anything. And that's why a big part of offer creation and a big part of even marketing in general, or especially marketing in general, is proof, is rationale, is giving a reason why, right? This is why one of the classics of direct response, one of the classic books, and it's very hard to find today. Oh my gosh, my mind just went blank on the I think it's Kennedy, not Dan Kennedy. Forget the name, but it's, who knows the name of the book? I think it's Reason Why Marketing, Reason Why Advertising, Reason Why John E. Kennedy, I think it is. John E. Kennedy, not John F. Kennedy. John E. Kennedy. I think it's Reason Why, not Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins, but I think it's John E. Kennedy. If I had time, it's on the bookshelf somewhere. But it's an old classic, legendary book on direct, and it's all about reason why. Another legendary, like giving reason why, like, right. We're going to talk about this when it comes to discounts or, or the way the price is presented, but like giving the reason why, giving the support. It was Gary Bencivenga, one of the most successful copywriters ever to play the game, ever to write copy. There was a period of time where for 6 years, none of his controls were able to be knocked off. He talked about the value of, exactly, that's it, Reason Why Advertising. Thank you, Sarkis. You got it. John E. Kennedy. That's the book. Reason Why Advertising. This is why they all talked about, like Gary Bencivenga talked about the value of the word because, and how the word because is one of the most persuasive words in all of marketing and advertising. The reason why is because what comes after the word because is viewed as proof and evidence for what you just said before it, right? The value of something like reason why, right? This is, this works faster than other options. The reason why is because, right? That gives support. If I said this is easy, anybody can do this. The reason why is because it doesn't require, right? And so anything that you say after the reason why is because, or after the word because, serves as a proof point. I'm totally getting off on a tangent here. Hopefully that makes sense. Now, the thing, I already said this, just to reiterate this, that these two right here are really ultimately the money. And so, right, are ultimately the money. Like, this is where ultimately the easier your solution is to use and the quicker it produces results, the more valuable it is, in the eyes of your prospects. This is why a done for you, a real done for you, I mean, real, like where I'm going to implement, I'm going to come, like I'm going to do it all for you, is the most expensive option, right? Is always the most expensive option, right? It's the most expensive option because it's perceived as and viewed as the most valuable by prospects, right? Because it requires, it's done for me. So it's super easy, right? And if you can do it in a day, then like, right, like it's a no brainer. And I think this is why I said that. This is another point that I think Alex did a great job in his book of really, when he gave the example, I believe, if I remember correctly, I got a very early copy of the book from him, of like the gym to lose weight versus like surgery, right? Like surgery is super easy, like, you know, like call it super easy and works right away. Like you go in, you go under the knife, slice, you know, like whatever, liposuction, like boom, boom, you come out and you're, you know, you're lighter with less fat on you and smaller waist, right? Whereas the gym is a lot more difficult to implement, produces slower results. The gym is $29 a month or whatever, and the surgery is 29,000, right? And so speed and ease, speed and ease, speed and ease. Now, I want to give a couple of points here as it relates to what it is that I just said. Number one, it's not about saying it's easy if it's not. It's about engineering the solution to make it easy for the prospect. This is why I said that of the three levers or the three kind of legs of the winning offer, this one requires the most, you know, oomph to make it happen, because this requires really taking a good, hard, honest look at your solution. Like there are a lot of people like, look, let me be frank. Let me kind of step back, you know, for 1 second with this, turn this off for 1 second and look right at you guys. There are a lot of people that are just selling wildly unattractive solutions where, like, when, you know, whether it's a client that says to me, I'm thinking of rolling out XYZ and here's how I'm going to wrap it in an irresistible proposition. And I say to them, like, let's go back to the solution. Who would want that? Like, that sounds terrible. You know what I mean? Like, that sounds awful. Is there an easier way? Can we make it easier for them? Can we make it faster for them? Like, how can we do more for them to just make it easier to produce faster results? Right? Like, that sounds like a terrible solution. And when you start with a terrible solution, right, this is an important point for you to understand. When you start with an unattractive solution, or a solution that's not viewed as attractive by your marketplace, even with a sin proposition and the right presentation of flow and languaging, you're going to suffer. This is why I said that it's the three legs, it's the three components of a winning offer together that work to produce the result. And so if you're trying to sell, you know, frankly, an ugly solution, and you're trying to sell it with an irresistible proposition or a sin proposition and the right languaging, you're making the job that much more difficult for yourself. Because again, remember, what does the prospect get and what do they need to give to get it? Part of what they give is the effort, the time, the commitment, the discomfort, all of those things that are directly linked to the quality of the solution. Really important that you guys grasp that. And so let's go back over here. And so let's talk about this. So I want to talk about those two things. I want to talk about ease and speed. I said already, right? It's not about just saying it's easy. This is not about just lying. Right? Like, this is not right. Yes, there are a lot of people out there that just lie, that just say what they need to say to make the sale. That's not what we're doing here. That's not what we're about. That's not what I've ever been about. That's not what I represent. That's not what I want you to represent. This is not about just saying it's easy if it's not. Now, if it is easy, right, and you're not saying it's easy, well, then, you know, shame on us for not getting that in there, right? But this is not about taking something that's difficult and just saying that it's easy. What this is about is taking a good, hard, honest look at your solution and asking yourself, is this easy based on their standards? Could I say this is easy and back it up with an explanation, reason why, to demonstrate that? And so if not, this is about us being honest about the quality of our solution, and then saying, well, how can I make this easier? What are the things that we can do to make this easier? What are the things that we can add to the offer to make it easier, right? The bonuses, or what other additional deliverables, which we're going to talk about, can I add to this in order to make it easier? As it relates to demonstrating speed, we kind of covered this already. So, right, how fast will I see the transformation? So, like I said earlier, this doesn't have to be the complete transformation. So if you think about the journey, when I said earlier, I said, right, that ultimately what we're saying is that, right, to the prospect is that you're here right now. You want to be here. I could take you from here to here. I've got a different way to take you from here to here. And that different way is superior to all the other options in these areas. And let me explain why and how this thing works to get you from here to here. Well, this demonstration of the transformation, it doesn't have to be this whole thing, right? It doesn't have to be the whole journey. It's not just a matter of how fast do they go from here to here. It could be how quickly does it begin working? When will I begin seeing results? And so while if I had a weight loss program, if I was marketing and offering a weight loss program, while I might, and I was, this is for people that want to lose 100 pounds or more. While I can't promise that 100 pounds is going to come off in some time frame that I know prospects are excited about, right? Like no one's going to get excited about 100 pounds in the next 15 months, right? Like no one's going to be excited about that. But right, when does it begin? How quickly does it begin working? Well, I know that this program could begin working the same day. Therefore, I can talk about that. How quickly will I begin seeing results? They might begin seeing results in the first 48 hours. They might begin seeing results in the first week, right? And so I can look at that time frame to talk about speed, right? So there is a lot of things, just like, right, you could promise people that they will get 1,000 Facebook fans a month, or that they'll get 1,000 Facebook fans or 10,000 or whatever the number, right, is today that people are promising, right? But the reality is that if people could start to see new fans coming into their page or their group or whatever in the first 24 hours, then that's what I'm going to focus on. So I'm not going to focus on the final step or the final step in the journey. I'm going to focus on the speed at which it begins working, the speed at which they begin seeing results, right? I might say, you can begin getting new fans, right, within an hour after you complete this program, right? And you can start seeing new people come in, right, every single day, starting the next day, and then the day after, and the day after, and the day after. You can literally be building your group in a matter of hours after going through this. So Nix, pop that question into the Q&A section, and when I get to Q&A, I'll take that for you. And so this is important, right? Because I want you to understand that if your thing works slowly to produce the final result, that doesn't mean that you can't demonstrate an aspect of speed in another area. You can, again, how quickly does it begin working? When will they begin seeing results? How fast will I see the transformation is really the biggie, if you will. And so all of that, what we just covered, is the first component of a winning offer. Having that attractive solution. We want to start with that. And only after we believe that we have an attractive solution do we want to go on to the second component. And the second component is what we refer to as a SIN proposition. So basically, the way to think about this generally is that we want to start with the most attractive solution possible. Once we've got the most attractive solution possible, then we want to wrap it in this SIN proposition. Now, ultimately, what we're doing is saying, I've got this attractive solution. Now, let me tell you what the proposition is for you to get this attractive solution. That's what we're talking about here. Now, SIN, as you heard me say earlier, SIN stands for superior, irresistible, no-brainer. Now, I want to break this down just a little bit, as you can see on the slide here for you, so that you understand where these things are coming from. So when I said earlier, superior to what? Superior to competitors. So we want to have a better offer, right? A better offer than your competitors. Our aim is to put together an offer that your marketplace would view as much more attractive, or I should say a proposition. So we're starting with an attractive solution. Now we're going to just put that attractive solution aside. So, okay, we've got this, what we think is a wildly attractive solution. Now what we're going to do is we're going to put together a superior, irresistible proposition that makes it that much easier for prospects to say yes to get the solution. So while I said earlier that an unattractive solution with a SIN proposition will struggle, an attractive solution with an ordinary offer can do okay, can do well, but an attractive solution with a SIN proposition will go like gangbusters. So an attractive solution with a SIN proposition gangbusters. So superior, we want to put together and engineer a superior offer to competitors. Now, as you're going to see in just a little bit, that might be superior in one or more areas. Doesn't mean that it's going to be superior in all areas. I'm going to show you how to make it superior. It could be in one or more areas, one or more of the components of a SIN proposition. Next is irresistible. And I want you to start to think about irresistible in a different light. What makes your proposition irresistible is not the volume of things that you give people, not the volume of deliverables, not the volume of videos, not the volume of Q&A calls, not all the stuff they get, not the 1,000-page binder or whatever that you send them in the mail, right? There was a time and a place for those of you that are, I'm talking now in this example, I'm talking about, let's say in the information marketing business, and this applies to every business, but there was a time in the information marketing world, the training, the coaching, training world, where there was this, what was called this thud factor, where, right, this is when we used to mail courses and trainings physically. So my very first information product, which is going back, many of you, who knows, some of you could have been in elementary school at that point, was a physical product that it was this huge thing, came in a box, and there was this thud factor. When the delivery dude, the UPS guy, put the thing down, it was a thud was the idea, right? When they opened it, there were all these pieces and components and whatnot, the thud factor. Well, the reality is that was valuable then. That doesn't hold value today. In fact, in some cases, that is a turnoff. That can be a detriment in the sales process. The reason why is because years ago, when I first started, there wasn't the accessibility of information that there is today. And so, right, today, the reality is that information is plentiful. It is all over the place. There's no shortage of information. What people want, yeah, Sarkis, and exactly. That was, so John, when John mailed the full traffic secrets, the original traffic secrets, that bad boy had all those manuals that came with, and all the DVDs and everything. That was the thud factor. But again, that was at a time when information wasn't nearly as accessible. And so there was value in merely getting more information. Today, that's not the case anymore. The reality is that information is everywhere. And what people want is, right, they don't value more information because people are already overwhelmed with information. People already have information overload. What people want, right, is what's more valuable today is the result. The reality is, right, you could sell, if there was the answer to, like the answer to some massive problem that a marketplace had, right, we could sell it on an index card. And if we gave just a SIN proposition, made it a no-brainer, like said to them, don't even, you don't even have to pay me today. I'll send you the postcard and use it and like see blah, 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 the results in 30 days. And only if you're blown away by the results, pay anything. And if you're not, let me know. And I'll actually send you a check for $100. Like, the reality is that people would buy it all day long. And so there's that. But more importantly, what I want you to understand, the mindset shift that I want you to have, is that the value, what makes it irresistible, is the demonstration of benefits. So you remember the slide earlier where I showed you the scale, and I said our job is to tilt the scale, the value proposition scale, in favor of what the prospect gets, so that the value of what they get is far greater than what they need to do to get it. Well, the way that we stack up the value proposition is by talking about what the prospect cares about most, why the prospect is even responding in the first place. And that, and that is the demonstration of benefits. And so I'm going to teach you a process for sharing the benefits of your deliverables in a little bit. I'm going to share you the three layers, and I'm going to show you the flow and the process of doing it. But it's the demonstration of benefits that makes it irresistible. When you stack benefit on top of benefit, and you show your prospect, you stand to gain this, and you'll experience this, and you'll see this, and you'll enjoy this, and you'll no longer feel this pain, you'll no longer struggle with this disappointment, and you'll enjoy this and this and this and this. What you're doing is you're stacking the value in favor of what they get and sliding it against what they need to do to get it. And so you need to understand that your offer becomes irresistible when it's loaded with benefits, not when it's loaded with deliverables. More deliverables don't make it more valuable. And in some markets, it actually works in reverse. You make it irresistible when you show them you're getting all of this benefit for this little bit of money, work, effort, and time, right? Like you're getting all of this benefit for this little work, right? Effort and time. And that's why the reality is that the more work and effort and energy and time that's required, the more benefit we need to have. The bigger the payoff, the bigger the result, the bigger the outcome, the bigger the transformation, the more we have to compensate for that. But the point is that you don't load your offer with deliverables to make it more irresistible. You load it with benefits. You load it with benefits. I'll tell you, I've said this, I've been saying this for years, and I'll say it again. I've never seen a campaign not work because it had too many benefits. I've only seen a campaign not work because it didn't have enough benefits. I have never seen too many benefits in a campaign cause it not to work, ever. And so again, you got to recognize this mindset of that when you go into the offer presentation, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, that doesn't mean it's time to, feature dump, to start to talk about, you get these videos and you get the community and you get this and you get this. I'm going to send you this. I'm going to send you everything I got, man. I'm going to send you all this. No. It's benefits. It's you're going to get this so that you can do this and so that you enjoy this and so you'll experience this and so that you can blah, 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 blah. You're going to get this so that you can so that you do this, so that you can experience this, so that you enjoy this, so that you enjoy. The focus, as you're going to see, we're going to break down the percentage, needs to be on the benefits. And then no brainer. We manipulate the no brainer with terms, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit, and risk reversal. And so the terms, not price, the terms and risk reversal. That's how you make it a no-brainer, right? Like, terms are how the payment is made. And we're going to talk about this. We're going to cover this. Terms are how the payment is made, right? Not about what the price is, it's how the payment is made. So if you're charging $1,000, well, is that $1,000 up front? Is that $1,000 in 30 days? Is that 4 payments of $250? Is that a payment of $10 today and then $990 in 6 weeks? Like what are the terms, right? And terms, as you're going to see in just a little bit, is a significantly bigger needle mover than is price today, because people are accustomed to paying things off in terms of payment plans, in terms of payment plans. And so people no longer even think in terms of in price. They think in terms. And so, right, we could have, right, like pay nothing today, right? Use it for the next 30 days. And only if you're blown away by the results, do you pay anything? And if not, you let me know and I will send you $100 out of my pocket. That's pretty hard to resist that. You pay nothing today. I'm going to send it to you. Enjoy it for the next 30 days. See the results that it produces. It either produces the results in the next 30 days, or you let me know and I'll send you a check for $100 and you can still keep the thing. That's a tough offer to refuse, right? In terms of being, like doesn't take a whole lot of thought. This is, my buddy Clayton Makepeace, A player copywriter, unfortunately no longer with us. But he used to talk about offers like you take a look, I'm going to show you. I'm kind of giving you something that I probably should say in another 20 slides. But if you take an attractive solution, right? We propose it or offer it to our prospects with an offer that's superior to the other offers out there. We layer on and stack on the benefits. We make sure that we share with them all the different ways that this thing is going to improve their life, change their life for the positive. Then we make it a no-brainer by manipulating the terms and risk reversal. Clayton said he used to talk about offers like that as he would say, that's not an offer, that's an IQ test, right? Like it's not an offer, that's an IQ test. And so that's ultimately what we are after. And so superior, irresistible, no-brainer. So let me tell you the 6 components of a proposition. We already mentioned it. We already talked about it. You're probably already familiar with it. This is where everybody goes when they think of an offer. And then what we're going to do is we're going to break each down. So there are the deliverables. This is what they get. So, right, if you have an information product, this is videos, this is, audios, this is a Facebook group, this is live Q&A calls or whatever. This is the recording, like whatever it is that they get, the deliverables. Then there are benefits. Now we're going to talk about these separately because of how critical these are and how important these are. We're going to break this out, but there are the benefits of the deliverables. Then there are premiums and bonuses. There's the price, there is terms, and there's risk reversal. So deliverables, benefits, premiums, bonuses, price, terms, and risk reversal. These are the 6 components that make up any proposition. Now, somebody might say, well, I don't have risk reversal. Then there is none, right? But that's still a component. Like there's no guarantee, right? The terms are you pay today. The price is $49. There are 0 bonuses, right? These are the 3 benefits. And this is what you get. Like that's the standard offer of you get this, and this, right? It comes with these 2 bonuses, right? The price is X, you pay it today, and there's a 30-day guarantee or whatever. That's your typical proposition. So let's talk about the first one, which is deliverables. Now, again, I said that there are 6 components that make up a proposition. You can see in the upper right-hand corner, there's the number 1. This way, you know where we're at in the 6 in case the word deliverables isn't at the top of the slide on any of these upcoming slides. So I want you to start to really pay attention to what I'm saying here, because we're going to get into some like do this, don't do this kind of stuff. So number 1, each deliverable should address a different benefit, overcome a different concern, or resolve a different problem. In other words, and you're going to see this in a second, I put an example slide on here. In other words, when you add something to an offer, when you add a deliverable to a solution, even if you add a bonus, and this really does apply to a bonus as well. If you're adding a bonus, bonuses are a little bit different, which we're going to talk about, but each deliverable should address a different benefit, overcome a different problem, concern, or resolve a different problem. In other words, what you're trying to do here is you are trying to prevent doubling up with just additional deliverables that don't add anything to the offer. When I say don't add anything to the offer, by add to the offer, I mean add a new benefit, overcome a concern, or resolve a problem, right? So you might be adding a 3rd or 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th or 9th, 10th deliverable, whatever it may be, but are you adding an additional benefit? Are you adding the resolution of a different concern? Are you adding another resolution of a problem, right? Because if not, all you're doing is just doubling up on, or sometimes tripling up on deliverables. So most of the time, when you see these folks that will just load up their offer with just a bunch of stuff, they've got so much stuff that just doesn't add anything new. It's just more for more sake. Right. And so it's one thing to realize like, wow, I don't have a deliverable that addresses this benefit or this need or this concern. And so what deliverable could I add that will address that benefit, that need, or that concern? That's one thing. That's a smart and strategic way to go about adding a deliverable. But the poorly done way of adding a deliverable is to just say, let me add this, right? Like, let me throw in this, or I think that XYZ would make a cool addition to this. What you want to do instead is you want to start with, how does this deliverable, right, add a new benefit or overcome a different concern that the prospect has about getting success or experiencing success, or resolve a different problem? And if you can't clearly see the answer to that, then don't add the deliverable. And I'm going to give you an example or some examples of this on the next slide of how I view this and how I want you to begin to view this. Now, also, each deliverable should have a benefit-driven name or title. And so I'm going to show you this. I also added a slide for you with this. I see so many people that will say, plus you also get a weekly Q&A call. How many of you think that people are excited about, yes, Q&A calls? I love Q&A calls. Sounds really exciting, right? Like no one wants a Q&A call or like a webinar, right? Like just like jump on a webinar. I'm going to show you just different ways to think about this. And you don't need, it's not like copy skills. You just take rocket to be a rocket scientist to do this. Like go the distance. So my point is here is, and I want you to get this. I want you to listen to me, please. This is critical for this little segment of what it is that we're talking about, your winning offer. And that is this, that go the distance, not only with how strategic you are with what deliverables you add, what deliverables you cut, but go the distance with how you name your deliverables and how you frame them, right? How you name them and frame them, because how you name them and frame them changes the perception, or can change the perception, right? It's just like the title of a book, right? You've seen so many case studies, likely, if you've been around any length of time, a book that sold poorly with one title, and then the title was changed and it sold really, really well, right? Nothing else changed. The content of the book didn't change. The title changed. The positioning of it, the framing of it, right, changed. And so you've got to recognize that there is enormous value in how you name and how you frame your deliverables. So let's talk about this. So let's go back to the information, the training type of thing. You got videos. Well, what's the benefit of videos? You'd make the case that this is how you're going to learn. This is how you're going to gain the knowledge, right? This is how you're going to gain mastery, like of this bad boy, so that you can do this, right? Now, don't look, learning, knowledge, mastery, I wouldn't call those real benefits if we were really getting into the weeds here, but you get the point. Adding videos, what does it do? This is how they're going to learn, how they're going to gain knowledge, how they're going to gain mastery so that they can do X, Y, Z, right? Then we could make the case that worksheets, right? Worksheets are so that implementation is a no-brainer, so that you can translate very easily your learning into action, into production, into results. Now, do you see, before I continue, somebody say, yes or no in the chat. You see the difference between, there's a reason why we have the worksheets. In other words, I am able to articulate the reason for the worksheets, right? I didn't just add them because I don't know, other people do it. And so why not? What the heck? No, I added it because I can then say right now that implementation becomes brain dead, simple, and straightforward. How about like cheat sheets? You could say speed and ease, right? Like, now doing this going forward will be much easier for you and much quicker, because you can just whip out these cheat sheets and blah, 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 right? And you'll know exactly what to do. So the cheat sheets are not there just because they sound cool. The cheat sheets are there because it helps me or allows me to talk about speed and ease, something different. What about coaching? What would be, right? So if we added coaching to this, what do you think a benefit would be? Right? So if you said coaching, right? And sometimes I see this, and this is an important point, guys, right? This is an important point that sometimes people will say, right, videos, so that, and I want you to listen to me, right? I want you to get this. Okay. So people will say sometimes in their offer, this is in the presentation right now, the presentation leg, because they don't know the presentation leg like you guys will, right? They'll say, you get videos so that you can learn my XYZ system, right? And then, and we have coaching, right? To ensure that you're able to learn the most important parts of the XYZ system. Ooh, no good, no bueno. Because now you just added another deliverable with the same benefit. And if anything, now by adding that additional deliverable, the coaching, so that so that you can be sure you're going to learn the key takeaways from the XYZ lesson, not only did you double up on the benefit, but you really took away the credibility from the videos. Because now, right, if the videos were that good, so are the videos not complete where I need coaching to make sure that I learn it? Either the videos do their job or they don't. Right. And so now you take away the credibility of the videos if that's how you position coaching. And so we're support. So going back to coaching. So what is, right? So coaching, what is you could say, right? Support, feedback, confidence, all the above would be fine. Right. So like the coaching, right, the benefit is that you're guaranteed that you don't make any mistakes. Right. It's kind of very similar to, carry that over to the creation session. You could, a big part of that is, right, like the ease and speed, but it's also,
relationship, we lose ourselves. We forget what matters to us, and we choose our partner's interests and stuff. And you could even speak specifically to that, how to eliminate, codependency and have a healthy, relationship. So it's something to play with. All right. These are really great, guys. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. I spoke to this. This is really important. What is your avatar? When you're writing copy, you're speaking to one person specifically. Okay, and it could be like, her name is Susie. She lives in Idaho in this little small town with 2 kids and a puppy. Right? That's great, but that's for you internally. That's not for the world. Okay, that's just for you when you're writing copy. Okay, but so like the example I have here is like the 35-year-old stay-at-home mom with 2 kids. That's so you can tune into that when you write. But you don't say, are you a 35-year-old stay-at-home mom with 2 kids? Then I can help you build a business. Oh, I only have 1 kid. I guess you can't help me. Like, that's so silly. Are we usually our own avatar? No. The biggest thing I tell my students is you are not your audience. Maybe you were one day, but you're not right now. If you were your audience, you wouldn't be creating a product to sell to them. Jake says, what does writing copy mean? The simple answer, everything we do is copywriting. Copywriting is communication. Everything we do is through communication. Once you get this figured out, you become so much more effective at who you're writing to and what you're writing about, who you talk to, what problem you solve, and how you solve it. Everything you guys do in this industry is copy, whether you realize it or not. That post on Instagram, those 15-second stories, that Facebook Live, your post in your group, your emails, sale, everything is copy. People think they can get by not becoming an effective copywriter and still get people to buy their stuff. So copy is words that effectively communicate our message. I help entrepreneurs establish a self-care practice to improve professional and personal well-being. That's getting good. I like it. All right. A lot of you guys have already done this, so let's just go through more examples. So Monica asked, what's Catherine's niche? Well, you know, her topic is like manifestation, right? But she has different products, like how to manifest. Just what are her 2 main ones? Is manifest more. She has one specifically, like Rich Babe Academy, right? So what's that niche? Rich Babe Academy. How to manifest more money, right? And then one's just how to manifest more. Okay. So some people could get really specific on a person and some people didn't, and that's okay. But then some people are going to get really specific on the problem we solve. And like I said, stuck and overwhelmed isn't a problem. That's just how you feel about the problem. And a problem is an experience of something unwanted. And we're not talking about the cause of the problem. This is where the curse of coaching comes in. We are speaking about the symptom. The symptom, the symptom, the symptom. Okay. So this is just about, we're gonna have like 2 more slides. I'm gonna take you through one final exercise and we'll do a few minutes of questions. And then a couple more people asked about the replay. Don't worry, you guys can get all the replay, the live, all the good stuff. Okay. So I already gave this example, but Advil. Is there marketing? How to get rid of hydration? No, that's just drinking water. They speak to the symptom, which is, my head. It hurts. That's the symptom. That's not the cause. That's the symptom. So I really want you guys to do this exercise for me. What are the specific symptoms that your ideal customer complains about? When you say, what's going on? Yeah, I'm so stressed. Right? Anxiety is a good one. Low self-esteem. Infertility. Yeah, exactly. Busy but not making money, right? No energy. Inconsistent revenue. That's a really good one. Bored. Yeah. I feel like I'm lost in life, don't have a purpose, unmotivated, don't fit in the clothes I have. Very good. Not enough time, no patience. Disconnected from the music they create. Yes. I really want you guys to get there is a difference between the symptom that they describe. What's your symptoms? Oh, my head is pounding. Versus the cause of the problem. Well, you're dehydrated, silly. Drink more water. And as marketers, when you say I'm a business owner, you're a marketer first, and you must speak to the symptoms. And then when they purchase from you and say, I want to work with you, you take off your marketer hat, you put on your coach hat, and we can talk about the cause. But if we're not speaking to the symptoms in the same way and language in which they are already complaining about them, and they're going to say, oh, that's great, but that's not for me. Yeah, for people who got this, the whole symptoms piece, so powerful and so important. Okay. So what's a symptom of an entrepreneur? It's like they're not making enough money, or inconsistent revenue. That was a really good one. Or I'm not making any sales, or right. Yeah, stress can absolutely be a symptom, but then you could say it really depends too. It's like, so what are you stressed about? Right. And you want to see what comes up when you say that. Well, what are you stressed out about? Like, what is an entrepreneur stressed about? Let's just do about that one. What do you think an entrepreneur is stressed about? Yeah, not making enough money. Time and money. So if they made more money, could they have more time? Probably. And would they be as stressed? So are you going to teach a course on how to eliminate stress for entrepreneurship, or are you going to help them build a business that makes them more money, gives them more time back so they don't have stress? Leads and sales. That's right, Diana. Very important stuff here. Okay. So that was just an example of that. Helping them specifically in some specific way. But we kind of already talked about this. The last piece of Mel's value articulator piece was really about creating unique distinction. Remember our Barnes and Noble example, right? All right, we know what category what section you're in. Why you specifically? Why this specifically? And not because you're a unique snowflake. That's already a given. Everyone's a unique snowflake though, so you can't use that because everyone's unique. What makes your method quicker, faster, different? Something. And the way you look at this is you got to look at your industry. You got to look at what's going on. You say, what are the alternatives and how are they getting it wrong? You know, what's missing in my space? What makes yours easier, faster, more effective, simpler, quicker, right? All those fun ones, right? Like I love keto, the keto diet. I actually lost like 15 pounds before, or 12 pounds, something like that, before my wedding. And then my tailor, it's like, dude, we have to redo your tux. You lost too much weight. And I bought into the keto because two things. Well, it was like keto and intermittent fasting. I loved doing less meals. I never liked the whole like, 6 meals a day. It's like, I'm just cooking and eating all day. Didn't resonate with me. So 2 meals, like awesome. And like eggs and bacon are my favorite thing on the planet. So if that could work, I was like, I'm game for that. And avocado, yes, please, right? So I was really sold that the keto diet was a unique way for losing weight. You know, just to give you guys some examples. Loving the keto. Okay. Okay. So I want to give you one final exercise, and then we're going to do a little bit of the Q&A. And I know, let's see, 12, 1, 2, 3. There's been 4 hours. You guys are freaking machines. But I wanted it to be 4 hours, so I'm like nailing it right on time, believe it or not. And then I want to do a little Q&A and hang out with you guys, okay? Because now, like, there's people who have left, and it's gonna be a little bit more intimate. It's like half the people, still 300 people here. Okay, so here's the last exercise, and I love this exercise. I really love this exercise. I want you to imagine there's a world where you can go to events, okay? So we're not in quarantines and lockdowns and all that stuff. I want you to imagine that you go to an industry event for your industry. So type in, what type of event would that be? So for some of you guys, it would be like a marketing event. For some of you, it would be an event for nutrition, biohacking, personal development, for social media. Very good. It'd be an event for moms. It'd be an event for food and nutrition conference, a natural pet expo. Yes, for professional organizers, for parents, for spiritual awakening, for leadership. Okay. Now, so you guys all got your event? Yes? Veterinarians, financial literacy, acupuncturists. You're at this event. Everyone in this room is your ideal customer. Okay? You guys got that? Everyone in the room, they don't know it yet, but they need your stuff. Okay? You still with me? And you came just to hang out. So everyone in the room needs your stuff. They don't know it yet. They need your stuff. And then the organizer of the event runs up to you and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here." And you're like, "What happened? What happened?" Like, one of our speakers backed out at the last minute. Can you do a 60-minute presentation that just knocks these people's socks off? And you're like, "Heck yeah, because I know my stuff forward and backwards." What is the title of your presentation? Go. You have 60-minute presentation. You got this. What's your presentation? What is the specific topic for your presentation? I want you to write it down too. Put it in the group, but write it down. I'm just kind of reading through them as you do this. Give you guys another second. Post it in the group. Write it down. What's my topic? What am I speaking on? It's really good, guys. You guys, if you're done, you can just kind of read all these that are coming in. There's a lot of really great ones. And while you're submitted yours, here's the first thing I want you to do. Let's say now that this event has multiple tracks. In other words, while you're speaking, attendees have the option to go to 3 other speakers at the same time. How good of a job did you do in your title to get everyone packed in your room? Maybe some of you need to rewrite it. Yeah, so say that again. Your event that you're speaking at has 3 other tracks, which means your attendees have options. How good of a job did you do with your title to get your room packed and full of people? What are you going to say as your title? Here's our next speaker, and here's their topic. It's going to get everyone to go to your room to speak and hear you. Okay, if I can get your guys' attention for a second. So just pause the posting for just a second, and then we can go back to it. So, in this exercise, the venue, the industry event, that's your main market. The people in that room, that's who specifically you serve. And that topic, that's your niche. That's your message. That's what you offer. That's how you help people. That's what's going to make the difference. And that, I read through a lot of these, and we'll go back through. But even though this is a 60-minute presentation, we know, just like nailing your niche. I did a podcast the other day. It's a 30-minute call on nailing your niche. We've now been on for four hours. You know that topic can be expanded on into a group coaching, into a membership, into an online course. Just like I've expanded this here. So I'll repeat that one more time. Just for people that didn't hear that. The venue, your industry event, that's your mega market. I mean, that's like the high level market. The people in that room is who you serve specifically. And that topic that you came up with, that's your niche. That's your message. And that niche, that topic can, if you'd like it to be, you can change anything. You can say, I didn't love it. I'm going to try something else. Try something else. But that topic, that 60-minute presentation, that could be your next home run offer. That's your next online course, group coaching. That's how you work with people one-on-one, right? So just checking in with that, who feels like people, you can type in a Y, feel like you got something that you can run with from even that last exercise or any of them. Cool. It's awesome. Mina says the last one was sneaky. I'm going around the ego, man. I'm trying to go around the ego every time. Okay, so I'm going to say one final thing, and then we're going to do some questions. And the first thing is I just want to, oh no, I've got a great story. Wait a second. So, gosh, I'm like, I have more. All right, so you can always practice the pill test, okay? Which is if they can only buy one pill, is it this or this, right? You have your value articulator statement. So you should screenshot this. You should practice this. You're going to get I'll give you the slides. You're going to get the replays. It's all yours for life. If you're like, James, I don't like you, or I just want my money back, you can still ask for your money back. I don't care. I'm here to serve. And, you know, if you guys know by now that nailing your niche is worth far more than 97 bucks. But you know, you do what you want. Customer success at jameswhitmer.com. If by the end of this, you know, we're going to still do Q&A and stuff. So some more stuff will come up. But I do want to talk about really quickly what's next. People are like, yes, I'm getting this. Now what? Finally, I can take a step forward. Here, knowing your niche allows you to focus on what? Your offer. And that's what you want to focus on next. Every irresistible offer has 7 key ingredients. So you want to flush out your offer, and then you can launch what we call your beta program. This is your first launch. This is where you get your founding members. This is where you get your first group of people in. Okay, this is what we teach and do inside Business by Design, right? And then we go to scale. So I've been waiting for 4 hours for this next slide because this is one of my favorite slides. Last year, when we did this class for the first time, there was an attendee in that room named Christy Miller. Okay, Christy was invited by my good friends Jill and Josh Stanton. Anybody here who's friends with Jill and Josh Stanton, Screw the 9 to 5? And she goes, great, I'm gonna do this. She did not have her niche nailed by the beginning of the class. By the end, she did. There you go, Christy's your coach. Yeah, that's awesome. She helps health coaches take their businesses online, okay? She took the workshop last year. A month later, she did her beta launch. She focused on, okay, I got my offer now. She promoted it to a list of 2,000. I know that might be more than some people here, but nailing your niche helps you build your list. She got 1,200, this is no joke, 1,258 students. She generated 125, I mean, this is unheard of. Like, this is, I've like never heard anything like this happen. It is amazing. And she texted this to me this morning, $125,000 in revenue. Yeah, she ended up joining Business by Design, our Inner Circle Mastermind. And this year, 2020, her revenue is projected to be at $500,000. This is a year, okay? And I'm not sharing this as a testimonial because you guys just went through the same thing she bought, nailing your niche. I share this because this is how valuable and important this training that we just went through can be. And if you still don't know your niche, go through it again. Just like I said at the beginning, reading a book a second time, you're going to get something you didn't get the first time. I guarantee you that. But this is such an important thing. And you really do have everything here you need to get clarity. You can keep looking and keep finding and keep searching for other things. But I'm going to keep holding that space that you know what that niche is deep inside. And as those clouds part, the clarity comes into view. Okay. And this is what starts to happen when we get that clarity. Okay. She even texted me. Let's see if I have it on there. Yeah. This was so odd. What began as a $97 investment changed my life. She did go into enroll BBD, our coaching program, Next Level, and then she applied and got accepted into the mastermind. So to me, that's unbelievable. That's why we started teaching this, because it was like, oh my gosh, like we can't help people scale or do bigger launches if they're still stuck on this first phase. So that's why I've been very passionate about teaching this. So this is what awaits you. This is why this is so important. This is why you got to just get going, get started. Say, this is good enough. Let's see. Let's put it out there. Action creates clarity. Get the feedback. It's either going to, make a mistake. You'll look bad and dust yourself off and try again the next day, or something's going to work. And that's why I gave you like a phrase. I don't know where it is. It's way back here at this point of like, I help these people solve this type of problem. If you have this type of problem, send me a DM. I can help. I can bring that up again. I don't remember where it is out of all these slides we did today. Let's see. Where is that one? If you're a blank struggling with blank, I can help. Send me a DM, right? You can start with that today and start getting feedback. What's her business name? I don't know what her business name is, but her name is Christy Miller. It's so funny. Personal brands, like we don't really have business names. People always say, oh, what's your business? I'm like, me. So anyways, I hope you guys will join us June 15th, 2020, businessbydesign.net. We'll get you on the wait list. save that date. We got so much more training waiting for you guys. Okay. If this has been valuable, trust me, there's a lot more coming. All right. So yeah, you can find her on Instagram. Okay. So I'll leave like this one up and I want to do some questions. So Jody says, can you go to the previous slide? I don't know which previous slide now. Is it Christy's slide? Is it what to do next? But you guys start asking some questions. We'll take a few minutes of questions here, okay? And yeah, and then we'll wrap up. So Cindy says, if we still have a few niches we want to try, what's a way to test all three without a list? So the first thing is I wouldn't try testing all three. I would go back to this test way back up here and do that exercise. By the way, one of the exercises I didn't give you is the coin flip. So here's why this is so important. I don't want you guys trying 3 niches at once. Why do you think I don't want you guys trying 3 niches at once? Why do you guys think I'd be like, don't try 2 or 3? It's, yeah, all those answers are right, but the biggest one is you spread your energy too thin. The only thing that's going to work is the thing that you commit 100% of yourself to, right? You guys have heard that phrase, what happens when you try and chase 2 rabbits? You end up catching none. And so people say, but I don't know if this is going to work. That's why you do this exercise. So there's another exercise called the coin flip. So anybody who's got it down to 2 niches, people think I'm joking. You just flip a coin. Literally, if you got it down to 2, you just flip a coin. And here's what's going to happen if you flip a coin. Someone could do this right now. If someone's like, it's either A or B, James, I don't know. Great. Heads is A, tails is B. You flip that coin, and you're either going to be excited by the answer or disappointed. Exactly, Amanda. When you flip it, you'll want it to be one of them more, and that's how you'll know. You're like, oh, I was kind of thinking the other one. Okay, we're going to do B. We're doing B. Yeah. So people are like, you literally chose your career and purpose and passion on a coin flip. It's like, well, yes and no. It's just when you're disappointed with the flip, you know that it was the other one. It's such a beautiful exercise. So yeah, you can make decisions by the flip of a coin. So, so that's my advice, Cindy. Okay, so Joseph says, how do you solve a problem for your niche if you're not well-versed in the result they're looking for? I would love more specificity on what you mean by that. If you're not well-versed in, what does well-versed mean? I'd love to know what you mean by well-versed. So Joseph, let me know and I'll see if I can catch up to your question because a lot have come in. Diana says, what if I want to facilitate other experts? How does that business structure break down? Yeah, you know, memberships are really great for building a community and attracting other experts. So that's a way to look at it, but you still need to have a niche, right? The blah, blah, blah community is the #1 spot that attracts, you know, experts on how to do this. I mean, the person who created Masterclass, if you know Masterclass, they're probably not an expert at all, but they attracted experts. Best way to start researching your niche and what to look for. Yeah, there's so many things there. So here's a couple things I look for. Researching your niche. YouTube is going to be a fantastic place. Like you can go to YouTube and you can start searching in questions and see which ones get the most views and the most comments. And those topics are really going to resonate. Finding your competitors is a #2 very fantastic way, quote unquote competitors. Okay. And then if you can find Facebook groups or other communities, this is going to sound so simple, but your marketing, like I said, copywriting marketing is going to go up in direct proportion to your ability to be a good listener. So if someone comes to me and says, I'm really struggling to figure out which niche I should choose, I can sit there and say, hi, are you struggling to figure out which niche you should choose? Oh my gosh, yes, right? We really just become parrots in a lot of ways. So the more you're paying attention to your people's language, what they say, and then of course your own stuff, you start putting out your own content, you start asking questions. You could ask your own question, like, if you had a genie in a lamp, what wish would you ask for? If you had a magic wand, what problem would you get rid of in your life? They'll tell you. You know, all you got to do is ask people what they're dealing with, and they'll tell you. Cami says, if you don't have a list or a following yet, where do you get feedback? That's a really great question. There's a couple places, and I hesitate with this because I really don't like it, but there are other Facebook groups that you can join. You know, other people have created communities. I'm not a big fan of going into someone else's group and trying to create business from it, but you can ask questions to try and see, is this what these people want? So for example, right now, I'm just gonna give you an example. I would never do this because I don't like poaching. There's a lot of people that do that. Please don't do that. We have multi-million dollar business. I have never gone in another human soul's Facebook group and used it to get business. You don't need to either. I think it's a tacky, unethical, and ineffective way of marketing. However, it doesn't mean you still can't be connected in groups, connect with other humans, and do things that you would only want other people to do in your group. So for example, I'm in all these Airbnb groups right now. So I don't have an audience of Airbnb people. Let's say I wanted to create a product on how to do Airbnb, which I don't. But I'm in these groups with Airbnb owners. I could ask a question in there and be like, hey guys, what is like the biggest thing about your Airbnb that's frustrating you right now? And I'd want to try and make it as conversational and non-threatening as possible. It's like, I'm still getting started and I'm struggling with this. Is this the same thing you guys struggle with? Or, did you guys take any programs to learn how to do this? What was the biggest thing you learned from that program? You'll be like, yeah, I was struggling with this problem, so I bought this and I learned that. I mean, they'll tell you, right? So, the information is all around you when you start looking. And I know it sounds a little weird and counterintuitive, but the moment you know your niche, you have so much clarity and focus on what to say and where to say it, that you start attracting people. And I know I'm this weird woo-woo guy, but when you have this type of clarity, just like in manifesting, you have clarity, you need clarity in your manifestations, your energy will start attracting people to you. But you got to start with that intention. Your niche becomes your next intention. We started this class with an intention to get your niche. Now your niche becomes your intention. What? Did you guys just get that? Like, I help these type of people solve this problem. That's now your manifestation. That's now your intention. That's now where you're living from. And yes, I love teaching marketing. I love all kinds of tools. And I'll show you how to launch a podcast and grow it and Instagram and all these other amazing things and how to launch and sell. But there's a lot of people using those things and they're not getting any results at all because there's no intention behind it. The energy's off. They're not attracting those people. So when you know who you're attracting and that's what you focus on, you're going to attract more of those people, aren't you? Yeah. Okay. So tons of questions coming in. I hope you guys got that. Sandy says, do you think it's okay to use both female entrepreneurs and business women in my statement who I help? I do weight loss. I would look for the common thing because to me, that's whether they work for themselves or somebody else is irrelevant for weight loss. So it's really, I help busy women find 20-minute, find time in their day for effective weight loss in just 20 minutes a day. So then I can say, I'm busy because I'm running my own business or busy because I work for this big CEO. Okay. Nice work, Sandra. Love it. Savannah says, what's the best way to network with people that are in your niche? That's a great question. The simple answer is this. Don't focus on network, focus on giving without expectation. It's as simple as that. Be like, you know what? I really resonate with this person. I'd like to connect with them just to connect with them. Let things unfold organically. You are constantly, my friends, you are constantly planting seeds. Not all your seeds are going to bear fruit tomorrow. And that's okay. Don't dig up the soil and be like, it's not working. I have relationships that I started building not with the intention of it to pay off years ago. And it becomes a business deal today. But I just keep focusing on, I want to connect with this person because I like them. Wow, there's something about that person. Let me just connect with them. And yes, there's so much truth to your net worth is equal to your net work. And that's because whatever it is that you want, business, money, sales, whatever, no man, no woman is an island. None of us are going to get where we want to go by ourselves. We all need help, support, community, a network, people to lift us up, people to help us. You guys know that. So it's not about taking advantage of people or like, give me so I can build my business. Or if I know you, I'll make more money. It's about just being in the frequency of, like-minded people that lift you up, Katie says, do you think that when you learn from someone else or you have a mentor, then you go and teach someone else, that just means that everyone is causing a greater impact? I think I understand your question. I think the answer is yes. I don't know if I fully understand, but I feel like it. When you learn from someone else, then you go and teach someone else, that just means that everyone is causing a greater impact. I want to say yes. I feel like your question is, when you teach what you learn, does that spread a ripple effect? And like, you betcha. Like, there's someone here, maybe here live or on the replay, that's going to teach people how to find their niche. And they're going to help a lot more people, aren't they? I don't care if you're like, oh, I took James's training, I'm going to go do that. Like, that's actually what I've always been really wanting to do. And I just wanted to learn from James a little bit. I don't care. You can do what you want. People are going to do what they're going to do. I've never had an issue if someone wants to teach the same thing that I'm teaching or, whatever. I hope you'll do it your way, because it only hurts you if you copy or plagiarize. But I'm not going to resonate with everybody. Right? There's people that are like, James isn't my cup of tea. That's fine. There's people like, oh, I love James. That's great. I'm, neutral to both. Whatever resonates is whatever resonates. So someone else could be like, you know what? This just calls to me. If it aligns with you, not just because, I'm going to do it because James did it. That's the dumb reason to do it. You know what I mean? Okay. Jen says, you could find something compatible versus competitive. Oh, sorry, that wasn't a question. Barbara, what if what people are attracted to you for isn't what you found your niche to be? That's a really darn good question. And, it's one of two things. You got to even speak louder about what it is that you do. Or I would look, if someone's coming to you and they're saying, Barbara, I want you to help me with this. And in your heart, you don't want to do it. Some people still come to me for video stuff, and I just kind of laugh. James, I heard you're the video guy. I'm like, no, I recommend other people today. So you got to listen. You just got to listen to your heart. Like, what is your heart telling you to do? If what you found your niche to be is something that is calling you, you focus on that. That's it. It's as simple as that. I love what Cindy said. Having declared my niche in front of you all is so energizing. That's awesome. So Kim, are you still here? Kim says, what if there isn't much money to be made in the niche my heart chose? Kim, go share your niche. Let us know your niche. PC building. What does that mean? Does that mean like building your own computers? How do you know there isn't money in that niche? Can you just tell me? The thing is we create these beliefs that there aren't money in a lot of these niches, but we need to know, yeah, there probably is. We really need to know where we're coming up with that belief, because money manifestation, it can be a specific enough niche. Yes. I'm talking to Kim with PC building. Learning how to do caricatures can absolutely be money. Yeah, so Kim says, I'm not sure how to make money with it other than operating a regular computer shop. Yeah, got it. Okay, well, I don't know either. Everyone I'm speaking to, nailing their niche is going to be related to creating some sort of digital information product. Okay. So if it can be turned into, here's how to do this, here's how to solve this problem, that's what we want to look at. Okay. So I don't know if there's a membership possibility that teaches people how to build custom PC computers. And the thing is even at a low-end membership, you have the opportunity for volume. Right? So you could have people pay 10, 20 bucks a month, get a ton of people in there. So even certain spaces, you're like, oh, they don't have a lot of money. Like Patty Palmer, her audience is art teachers. Art teachers aren't really notorious for having a ton of money or spending a ton of money. So she charges like $30 a month. And it's a multiple seven-figure a year business. Yeah, Joseph, if you have limited knowledge, I'd also, what do you mean by limited knowledge? Because if it's enough knowledge to help someone get the result, then do it. In other words, if it's like, I can help someone create their first ad or a certain type of ad, then do it. But if you think you need to know everything about the whole topic, you know, Facebook ads itself is always changing. It's always changing. So you're never going to know everything about it. That's also a good thing because more for you to learn and more reasons why they should work with you. Ramil, yeah, sorry, you guys can keep, I mean, like there's a ton of questions and just so you guys know, I'm not gonna be able to get to all of them, but I'm gonna do the best I can. Oh my gosh, Kathy, you can draw me a caricature anytime you want. That would be amazing. I would love that. Okay, Ramila says, my niche is helping female entrepreneurs free themselves from the stress of toxic thoughts. Well, again, I'm just going to tell you, entrepreneurs, what do they want? Leads and sales. If you're starting an Instagram for that niche, should be more videos of me talking or graphics are better. A huge chunk of my posts will be affirmations too. I think it's a combination of both. I'm not the Instagram expert, but we do a combination of videos and photos, simple quote images and like longer videos, longer, like, I don't know, 2 to 4 minutes. That's not very long. So here's the thing. I'm just going to say that, Ramila. Female entrepreneurs, any entrepreneur, it's the transformation needs to be audience and sales. And even though they have stress and they have we all have toxic thoughts. Oh my gosh, I used to lie in bed and I'd be like, what the F am I doing with my life, right? But I wanted money. I wanted a business. I wanted sales. I wanted all these things that I thought came with it. Katie says, is it important to give out a freebie before you launch an actual paid online course? You're actually opening a bigger can of worms. You can, but it's not always the most effective way. I would first recommend going through our 100 leads training. And then Business by Design really helps show you how you can use launch messaging to sell your program for you. Whoa, just rewind to the beginning of the comments. Hold on, guys. All right. Deep feelers. I don't know what that means. Yes, Alicia, can you begin with one niche, create momentum, and then add more niches? Yes, but I'll tell you this right now. You only need one niche, but you can always add more. Miriam says, should you go by your name or your business name if your niche is still evolving? I'm always going to recommend personal brands. Use your name. People connect with people. Monica says, I help spiritual women make more money living on purpose. Or I help spiritual women to live, whoa, it's going so fast, into their power so they can live abundantly and on purpose. Make more money living on purpose. I help them step into their power. Yeah, I mean, they're both great. Like, I think it's just coming down to a few words, but, you know, like, make more money living on purpose is great. And then obviously when you're doing like Facebook ads and stuff, it's going to trigger spam for make more money. So you can talk about, you know, how to turn your purpose into a business so you can experience or live more abundantly. Thank you, Savannah. Your wisdom on this helped me so much with clarity. Thank you for giving my heart and voice. I'm excited to create. Awesome. Andrew, my other niche is really based on mindset. Can you help me give it a punchier result? I want to help personal brands find their true personality so they can be themselves in their business so they can market with ease and clarity. God, is that clear? What do you see? The first thing I see is it's going to be more towards, this is a transformation towards audience. So make it more tangible. How to find your unique voice and stand out in a crowded marketplace is going to be more specific and tangible. We do that by helping you step into your true personality so you can be authentically you, and still connect with more people. Anything that's like how to grow your audience faster in a crowded marketplace by stepping into, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a lot better already. Oh, I love that, Kathy. I help pencil shy adults tap back into their inner kid and learn how to draw. Yeah, that's specific. Like, that totally is. You know, I teach non-artists how to draw, or, you know, pencil shy adults. That's really fun. Yeah. Kristen says, I help personal development entrepreneurs. So what does that mean? I would get even more specific. Like, they teach personal development, they like personal development, they're into it, create consistent revenue. I like the creating consistent revenue part, but how so? Through digital products, through e-commerce, through automation. I would get more specific there, but you're getting there. I like it. Sarah says, I help busy moms be conscious dog guardians and raise their dogs naturally. What would their struggles be? Well, I still think, Sarah, that conscious dog guardians is going to be a little vague and confusing. I've never heard that term. Maybe I'm just not in the loop, in the know. I don't know what a conscious dog guardian is. So, I'd rather say I help busy pet owners raise healthy pets through natural and organic food. So what are their struggles is they don't know what they don't know about things that would cause their pet to be unhealthy, right? Like, I've even heard that, like, when you do, like, put cleaners and stuff on your furniture, like that, the dog sleeps on the couch and it's like breathing in the toxic fumes from your cleaners. Like, that's bad for the dog, right? So there's all this, it's such a great niche, like holistic health for healthier pets, from nutrition to the chemicals in your house to, you know, yeah, people pay for their pets. Okay, so many coming in. We'll just do a few more, but you guys are amazing. So appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And I know I can't get to all of them, but doing the best I can. I help online entrepreneurs master their energy for greater comfort, clarity, and creativity in their bodies, minds, and businesses. I'm liking where you're going with master their energy. but I'm just going to continue to repeat myself. As soon as you talk to someone in the lens of the context of entrepreneurship, they're going to relate it to their business. So might as well tell them, and here's how it's going to help you in your business. Just get to it, you know? Ling is saying, I struggle with what leaders want. I help leaders motivate their team so they can be recognized. Let's see, what does a leader want? Leaders want to be an effective leader. So leadership can be the transformation, can be the outcome. Being an effective leader, getting the job done, getting results, getting people to do what you tell them to do is a transformation. Who here would like to learn simple yet effective communication patterns that could get more people to do what you want them to do? Right? How would you like to make your team more productive, more effective? How would you like to increase your team's bottom line? How would you like to, improve your team's performance? Leaders like performance. Leaders like increasing performance. I help leaders increase their team's performance through powerful communication strategies. That's a niche right there. Okay, Jen, Kunkel. Okay, so this is where I want to make sure we're not going into like I do everything. So I help busy women who want it all, and I think you want to give it all to them in this thing. Use quick and simple habits to design a life around what matters most to her. Squash negative self-talk. Cultivate confidence and inner peace so she can live big, make a massive difference, and enjoy the journey along the way. There's a lot there. Okay. Unlike other methods that overwhelm and complicate, I can show you how to do this in as little 2 minutes a day. So I love you so much. And this is already starting to overwhelm and complicate. Isn't that ironic? You'd be even more effective in saying, I help busy women cultivate blank, I'll let you fill in the blank, habits in as little as 2 minutes a day. So what do these habits do for them? Healthy habits, give them more energy, more happiness, more productivity. Now it can be so much simpler. You don't really need to expand on all those things because you're speaking to the process. So a lot of you guys, I don't know if you weren't listening or didn't agree, but I've been doing this stuff a long time. So remember I said at the beginning, if you don't know it, or if you haven't done it, you don't know it. But a lot of these terms that we use are describing the process, like confidence, right? And people want what confidence gives them. Do they want to be healthier, happier? What do they want? And yes, the more tangible and more specific, the better. But you guys are doing it. You're making progress, and it is messy. I hope you guys will all take an action from here. And I'm going to give you one. For those that are still here, I'll give one little cool bonus thing at the end in just a moment. Piju, I help digital course creators and coaches project plan and execute their launches so they can rock their six-figure launches without stress and overwhelm. Yeah, or as simple as I help digital course creators create their first six-figure launch without stress and overwhelm. Like, just simplify it, guys. Now it's time to just make it simple. James, I help frustrated women who have tried so many diets that don't work, how to eat and live right for their body type. Yeah, it's pretty good. You're getting there. I mean, you're not the only person saying it that way, but that's pretty good. Let's do one or two more. I help people who have been held back by their trauma to transform their most painful experiences and embody the wisdom of those experiences so that they can align with their soul's calling to make the impact they were born to make. Yeah, that's beautiful, and it can even be more simple. I help people heal or release the trauma or past trauma in their life. I mean, it can be as simple as that. Think about that. Like I help people heal past trauma, and I do it through rescue horses. I facilitate the healing of trauma through horse therapy, or what is it? Equine therapy. It's great. Okay, it's really good, guys. All right. So you guys hung out. Now we're like 5 hours. Is this nuts? Is this crazy? We're going to wrap it up here in just a second. But I want to remind you of this, that number one, if you got uncomfortable, if you got frustrated, if you got confused, that's good. That's good. It's part of the process, because you only get confused when you're learning. You only get frustrated about things that matter. You only get overwhelmed when you're receiving a lot. It's part of the process. The problem is that's where people stop. That's where they give up. I need it easy. I want it on a silver platter. You know, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. I just don't want you guys to give up. I don't want you to stop. Action creates more clarity. So what I really want you guys to do is commit to an action item. And we did a very powerful clearing 4 hours ago. Whether you believe it or not, it really doesn't matter, because it worked. And you also had an opportunity to connect with your higher self. And so one final question to leave you with, and you can write it in here too, and then you can kind of tune in and ask again. So no matter where you landed with your niche, no matter where you're at, I want you to just be okay with what you've come up with. It's good enough. It's going to get better. It doesn't need to be perfect, because perfect is an illusion. You can just be okay with it right now. And then I want you to ask, what is my next required action? What is the next action that I can take in my business that's going to get me closer to where I want? And I promise you this, if you started your day that way every day, if you started with like, focus on my vision, focus on my outcome, what is it I want? And said, what's the next required action that I need to take right now? And you started to act on whatever came up, you'd be amazed at how far you can be in a very little amount of time. And that's what I want you guys to do. 13 years and the money we've made. Money's great. It doesn't change that much your life. If you think you know, it makes you more happy, that's another. We got to get some money stories. That's another call. But I have been able to help a lot of people. Like, I had the honor to have at the beginning of this 600 people on. That's pretty amazing. I'm very grateful for that. And that started because 13 years ago, I just made a decision to put one foot in front of the other, do one thing and then the next, and just keep going. And really what was driving all of that was saying, I'm going to figure this out no matter what. I'm going to make this happen. And one day I'll be able to prove it to whoever I need to prove it to. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Maybe yourself. But one day I'm going to have the proof. I'm going to have the evidence of all that work. And I hope you'll keep doing that. I hope you'll operate from that commitment. So you guys have lifetime access to these recordings. I'll get you guys the slides. Last year's recordings are in there. And again, if anybody wants a refund, I won't know. You'll know. You just email my team, customersuccess@jameswedmore.com. I'll even let you keep the training. Okay. You know, that was my word. That was my commitment. And what's my favorite drink is water. I just drink water. I like sparkling water. Here's my favorite sparkling water, Topo Chico. And I just appreciate that you guys hung out with me. I drink wine every once in a while, but that's about it. Red wine. So thank you guys. I honestly, I just hope you'll go out and go over deliver and spend 5 hours with your people Because if it made a difference for one person here, then I believe you'll be able to make a difference for at least one person when you go do the same. So thank you guys. Thank you. I appreciate all the kind words. Amazing. Very nice things. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Start tomorrow. Whole brand new world, whole brand new day. A little bit more clarity, maybe a heck of a lot more clarity on your niche. What's my next required action? Go out and do it. I know, 5 hours. Crazy. All right, you guys. That's it. That's a wrap. Boom. How to validate it. Put it out there. See what happens. All right. Take care, you guys.